And guys, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Idea Talkers Podcast, episode 30 for the week of Sunday, December 17th, 2017. Probably the last cast of 2017.
If not at all. Ever.
I'm your host, D.
This is your boy, Juice.
This is Jay.
And this is your girl, A to the C.
To the E.
That ain't fair. You could have warned us, Ace. You've been sitting here long enough to warn us.
Let's get a cheers for that.
Yeah, let's get a toast.
Yes, we've been waiting.
What up?
Yeah.
What up?
Yep.
Mazel tov.
Not really a guest, more like a returning co-host. I don't even know. Like, Ace fell off the map for a little while, but it's okay. She's back. And,
One of the originals.
Yeah, one of the originals.
OG.
You know what I'm saying? OG in this joint.
You know.
So welcome back, Ace.
Thank you.
How you
guys.
been?
Thank you. All is well. Just living, out here loving life.
Doing the thing, man. We
How's
waiting
it-
to get you back on the cast forever.
How's your Christmas season turning out?
Christmas is not the same once you get older.
I know you were saying you were having guests. Like, who exactly is coming over here? Your parents?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you guys.
I'm trying to come up.
Oh man, I gotta meet your dad. I don't know. That's-
Oh,
he's gonna be
cool,
strapped.
man.
He's gonna have a gun. Scary.
Your dad definitely got a gun, right?
Oh, dad, several. Yeah.
He got a gun. Yeah, he strikes you as a man who will be well armed.
Cause Ace, cause
So
I can't say
slow
that.
down.
I was not. I'm not.
I know where you were going.
I was gonna say something about it, but it would have been pretty mean. I'll just say this: Ace wasn't scared when that joke came in. She was like, "The fuck are you gonna do with that?" You know? I was like, Ace was not scared. Dude. I'm used to being around them shits.
But how have you guys been? I haven't seen you guys in forever.
Chilling, man.
Yeah, just trying to do this cast.
Work, casting, you know, dealing with net neutrality, Donald Trump's global catastrophes of an apocalyptic scale on the Joe Rogan podcast, this and shit like that.
Cast easy.
Yeah, what's the plural for
Cast
podcast?
Cast
Just cast eye, podcast eye. We're tripping here, folks. Okay, so I guess we're gonna get into the first topic, which is
When are we gonna get our own sex robots?
our sex robots. That'd be pretty interesting. Like I was telling them before, Kaz, man, there's no way any four of us at this table would not own a sex robot if it's given to us, okay? Or if it was in a more relative price range.
Yeah,
for
$5,000 for a sex robot is a little pricey, but
a little
like
steep.
Dee was saying earlier, man, if they had that joke for $500,
see,
maybe
in the context of a sex
that'll be
robot,
in every household across America.
is $5,000 expensive? Because I figured, like, if you want a top of the line quality robot, you're gonna have to put some millions in there, right?
What if you could build your own sex robot?
Customize it.
Ooh, there was a guy in the article that we were about to mention who said he built his own for $70,000.
Now, what can that?
It made it look. You
Scarlett
get Scarlett
Johansson.
Johansson. You get any celebrity you want for $70,000, man.
Oh man, that's scary, man. Like you want somebody making your likeness
That is scary.
to do their bidding.
But isn't that like the wave of the future?
You could add your own features and everything.
I think like virtual reality would be a bigger draw than an actual sex robot, though. Because like at the end of the day, this robot's still a robot. I mean, look at this picture, dog. She's sitting there and she's just sitting there. You know what I mean?
Nah.
Like blank
She
stare on her
doesn't
face.
even look lifelike.
Like, yeah, she doesn't look lifelike. Like there's no.
Yeah, but that's only.
But maybe
only
that's part of the
now.
allure.
What if in the future it becomes more lifelike? What if it becomes like fembots?
Right, like sentient. So that's what I was saying. Like you'd have to put more
Fembots
money
with
than
the machine
$5,000.
gun titties.
That's an add-on. You gotta pay for that.
gotta pay for that
$5,000 is like an expensive sex toy.
Yeah, but real talk though, like 5,000, man, you date a girl for like a year or so.
Oh, I would treat her right. I would treat Samantha perfectly right.
You could pay more. Like you could pay up to
I'd rename her though. I wouldn't have her Samantha. She'd have to be like,
LaQuisha.
yeah. Hey, come on, dude. Why you gotta be racial in this piece?
Sorry, what's the last
Yeah, come on.
Beck.
Yeah, I knew her Becky.
Oh, come on. That's
Be
even
Becky
worse.
Juice. Thank you.
Turns out there's 5. All right, so
I'd name her something weird, like Serengeti or something.
to give you guys some context, so we're not just rambling about sex robots, we got this story from an article that came on Second Nexus, and the title of the article is Samantha the sex robot needs repairs after abuse at a trade show. So long story short,
Dude left his robot.
the guy left his robot at a trade show for exhibiting new technology they have been working on, and he left it unattended, and she
Got misused.
got misused,
think is gonna
Everybody
happen?
had to try with
groped,
that.
and abused.
Yeah.
They have to try her out.
Not only try like sexually, like I would just do weird shit. Like I'd stick my finger in her nose or something. Like, let me see how it feels in there. You know, like just weird shit like that. You
I
know?
hadn't thought about that before, but now I am curious.
Yeah, right?
Like now that you mention it,
Like, how does it feel? Like, does she feel human? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what kind of nostril is
Put
this?
your
Is it
finger in the
silicone?
mouth.
And I'd like to point out that the article does say
Yeah,
that
does she have nose hair? How realistic are we talking?
the article does say that she was anatomically correct. So I'm like,
So, yes, no
what
hair.
other kind of fondling can I do? You know, of course this robot's gonna get fucked with if you leave it sitting there with no attendees or anything like that. You know, no rope to keep me from interacting with it.
Wait,
Yeah.
can I get what's the definition
I'ma
of
beat the shit out of
anatomically
this
correct?
robot.
Like it's anatomically correct is
Like,
Well,
it
it's
has boobs
proportionally correct. It has
Okay.
you know boobs and
okay.
you know,
It's
hips.
not like exaggerated.
and it's life size. You know,
Okay,
anatomically
Like a
correct.
real thing.
okay.
So. I mean, right? Like, so when you got guys who are out here willing to buy like sex blow up dolls, which is I don't know how much faker you can get. Is there any pleasure you can derive from a sex blow up doll?
They've been
Seriously?
selling for
It's a fucking
50, 60
plastic
years,
bag.
so
Yeah, you know, but right?
People
Like,
still buying them.
Like,
I couldn't see myself
I thought it was
humping
a
no sex
novelty
doll.
kind of thing, though. You know
Is
what
it?
I'm saying? I thought it was. I don't know.
I don't know. They don't. She doesn't come with a hole in her mouth or nothing. That sex.
Some of
That
them
sex
do. Some of
blow up
them do.
doll. Yeah, they do. They have their little holes. They have the.
So would it be the same if, like, for a guy, a fleshlight, like using a blow up doll?
you know what?
See, we don't want to
The
get
thing
into
is-
girl and guy sex toys.
Wait a
I'm not
minute,
going to.
maybe
I had
though.
this debate before. Don't be me. Don't be mad at me for wanting to have a sex toy. Okay, y'all got the whole market cornered. The
No,
women
I'm
got
just
the.
saying, wouldn't it be like the same thing as far as pleasure or what it feels like?
I don't think anything's ever gonna feel like the real thing. That's just my opinion. Like this robot will never take off unless you put more than $5,000 into it. You know, 5,000 is only gonna get you so much.
Hey, so you saying that this robot is probably just like a super advanced, super expensive fleshlight?
No, I was talking about as far as like blow up dolls and fleshlights. As far as the textures.
A
Okay.
blow up doll's a
and-
toy. You know what I would do with a blow up doll? I'd clothesline that joint. You know, I'd wrestle with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
like
Like
back in the 90s.
Rock 'em side
yeah, you know,
Uh,
the rock bottom and whatnot.
Yo, what were those joints
My
called?
bad, Jay. Go ahead, man. You cutting everybody off. This is the problem with 4-person cast. Everybody gets cut off. We get cut off with 3 people cast.
Yeah, but so the anatomically correct robot, they said, it says that they were outraged because Samantha is supposed to be treated with what do you say? Respect
Care.
and
Dignity
care,
and respect.
and that she responds to many forms of touch, including family, romantic, and sexual.
And let's point out that comes from the
Damn.
creators, the developers of this robot, who are saying these things.
They I guess they want a
I'm not
multi-purpose robot.
introducing
you know?
that thing to my family. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Uncle Lester.
I don't know. Like, how far does the fantasy go?
Nice to meet you. Well, that's a good question, D. How far will this fantasy go? Because all right, so
I'd introduce it to people.
why do
Like,
they
that's
need
Samantha.
a sex robot?
you
Why
have
do they need
threesomes
such an
with a sex
advanced
robot.
machine? The question, like,
Right?
I just said
Maybe.
you have threesomes with a sex robot.
Hey, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It depends depends on what she earns.
shit.
But see, the possibilities are endless with this sex robot, though, right? So you'd be curious.
But the question is, why do people want these toys, these machines, these sex robots even now? Because as we said before, it started with blow up dolls, internet porn. Like, why do people feel the urge to have these things and then make them more human-like?
Curious?
Curious? Yeah. I'll argue that
the need to fulfill sexual innuendos, the need to have sexual interaction. You know, humans always have had sex. We've had this conversation before on the
yeah,
cast.
you're
Because
right.
you can change the settings to make it pleasure you. It can last longer and you can make it probably bigger as far as.
I mean, think about the settings you could have on this robot, right? Think about the settings.
Yo, there gonna be a crank on that joint to make the penis bigger?
No, that joke, right? Like, I mean,
Crank that joint?
it's like it's user
to
friendly.
gain 3 inches. What the fuck?
Yeah, you could download different applications to it. You know, they got.
But there
updates.
are lonely people out in the world.
Mhm.
Lonely people who are looking for something that they haven't found. And
Or trying something
this
new.
machine, or to try something new. But I imagine that these machines and porn, the reason that the whole internet, ever since its inception, has been filled with porn, like 90% has been porn. Like the same reasons. Like people are sexual creatures and they aspire to. They're looking for interaction. They're looking for connection.
Like I said, because some
So
of
this
it's not
machine
only
is a
used for
connection.
sex. It said companion.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And then
So, like,
yeah.
for those people that are lonely, they might just want to talk to.
So why
someone.
would this family and romantics romantic setting be a thing, because people want interaction, people want family, people want a deep felt connection to something.
And it said that she could tell thousands of jokes. She talks about philosophy and science.
Why
and
would
you
a
can
fuck
have,
bot
She'd be
need
like-
to tell
she'd be
jokes?
like-
actual conversation.
She'd be like, what did the bartender say to the, in that robot voice and shit? And that's when the dude was backhander. Shut up. I didn't say to talk. She'd be on the ground laughing at it.
Power down. Power down.
Just like, ha 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 ha. The fucking battery would die and shit.
Oh no.
No, that's a good question. Did this need batteries or did you just plug it in?
Yeah, what is
It's
this?
probably
Rechargeable.
rechargeable.
Is this
Charge-
sun?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this is
Plan
interesting though. But nothing to ever replace the real, actual human interaction of companionship, sex,
So I have a question.
anything.
So if you had the money right now to
I'd
build
buy
you a sex robot, what would be one thing
Because
you
I'm a
would
fool.
want your sex robot to have or do?
Jokes.
How far are we going with this? Because this is a big question, Ace. That's a broad
Extra
question.
arms.
Hey, a third arm might come in handy. I don't know, right?
Oh my
But
God.
that's the beauty of a sex robot. It's-
Right.
I can tailor it to my
That
wants.
is the beauty. Like,
Yeah.
maybe the reason people are looking into this is because this is just the first step.
Look,
Like,
you
the
be-
sex
you-
robot itself.
Look, you
that
be on
looks
a
like
sex
human
robot
is the
and
first step.
the third
You
arm
want
will reach
Captain
around
Kirk
underneath you. And
experience.
just, you know what I mean? Like, I turn that third arm on.
It's an add-on. It's an add-on.
That don't be massaging.
Yeah,
you
that don't
while
be
you be hitting
massaging your
that
shoulders. How was your day?
You seem tense.
joint. So, yeah, I'm good.
They'll be telling you to relax. Relax.
The joke from
Oh,
And
man.
they can start cooking though, and like doing laundry and stuff.
But see, you have to pay a lot more than $5,000.
Yeah,
That
that'd be
leads to
one
the
of
next
those you would
question.
just build
Mhm.
yourself.
slaves.
That's awesome, though.
With
That,
these
didn't he
things
mention that in the article?
Now, do we
With
really
these
want to
things
breed a army
become slaves.
of slaves, of robot slaves? That's the dawn of the apocalypse, if you ask me.
And then, yeah, what if they all get together
Mhm.
and just take over the world? All the sex robots.
Yeah,
What if they have
that
no
would be
interest in
bad.
taking over the world and
Holy
we just
shit.
get to have
Oh,
robot
this is
sex
so
slaves?
bad.
Like what I'm saying though, like there's no guarantee that robots gonna look at us and be like, you know what, we got to kill these things. Like
I
they
think
can just
there's
be like,
100%
I like
guarantee.
doing my job. Hooray! This is what I want to do.
Wait, have you guys seen that movie Blade Runner? That new one?
I haven't seen it, but
I
I
heard
heard it
it's
was good though.
That's basically the basis of this shit, man. That's, like they basically built like a society.
Actually, reference it
of-
in
Yeah, they made a society of like servants essentially that just pleasure you in any way, shape, or form. Like if you need someone to cook for you, boom, they are the programmed to do this. They're
When did
programmed
they
to do
turn on them?
Basically, one of them was like, "Hey, like, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why?"
She started talking back. The robot?
She was questioning her existence. It's like- she was like,
Flip
"Why
that
do I have to do
EMP
this?"
switch.
She realized she was like, "No, why? No, why do I have to do this? Like, I don't need something else. What about my own dreams?" He's like, "Wait, you have dreams?" She's like, no, maybe not.
Smart move.
But still, yeah, but like,
Smart move.
what if they become? You know, we're talking about sentient like robots. So what if they? We're right now we're filling the gaps, making sex robots. They're gonna become sentient, and then
When my sex
Robot
robot starts
overlords.
questioning her feelings and her existence, I'll
She
just
gotta
turn
go.
her off.
And you said she
I'll be like,
gotta go.
just cut her off.
You doing too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's the thing, man. Like,
man,
why
yo,
though?
that second robot's gonna come out, turn that one on, be like, hold on.
The upgrade.
Yeah, they're gonna upgrade each
They
other.
keep upgrading.
Try to turn her off. She's like, better
I
not.
think this is the future, though. And I think as far as like the sex industry, maybe the porn industry, maybe the sex toy industry,
Oh, they're gonna start making porn with sex robots.
going to be robotic. Oh,
I
come
bet you
on.
there
They
is.
would already do
I
that.
bet you there
They
is.
already got contraptions built. We don't have to go on to that, John, but
The whole virtual reality thing.
I'm talking
I saw
about
this
contraptions
video
that you
on
strap
Facebook.
you strap somebody to, and that joint will like it's on a motor. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. But they have the
talking about
VR
full
goggles
body.
that go with that jump.
Yeah, because I seen a video too where a guy
Yeah,
was like,
and he was
looking
that
and
dude
doing
just hit.
that.
He
Yeah.
just hit it. He was like, oh shit. And he was like, what?
I
He was
saw that.
in there like, but isn't that awesome though? Like it's
kinda
cool as
awesome.
shit.
It's kind
To
of
me,
awesome.
that's amazing. Like we all know we're all in on this if that comes out. And the fact is, let's be honest. Our worries about the robots taking over is not going to stop our development of sex robots
No.
because they're sex
No, it
robots.
wouldn't.
Mm.
It wouldn't.
But then where does it stop?
And we
Like,
would try to advance to make it
We'll
more
find
and more
out one
lifelike.
day.
you come out with sex robots. Next thing you have war robots, right? Then you have cleanup robots. And you start automating industries where people don't have to have jobs anymore. I mean,
We
even
already
at
do that,
McDonald's,
though. We already do that with a lot of our
even at the McDonald's, they got screens where you go up
Yeah.
and order now. You know what I mean? I saw that joint at the McDonald's on Dell Boulevard, man.
That
They got
is-
the screens in there.
Haven't
You
got
can
an
go up,
order
order your food,
since.
and you pick it up over there.
They got this robot in Europe that goes around kicking homeless people off of benches.
Oh, damn.
Really?
Oh,
Yes,
shit.
it's like it's built like R2D2. It's a big ass dome
Yo.
robot and just rolls around the streets.
Fuck that
And that
shit, I
going to
can't
be
do
like
that.
just like when if it comes across somebody
Mm-hmm.
just laying on the bench like at night, it just sirens, woo woo woo, and people just got to leave, you know.
Dang.
But they have people that's been fucking the robots up though.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
They be
They'll
kicking
be
the
kicking
shit down the
out of the
stairs and
robot.
shit.
Yeah, you got to roll up on me with one of them robots off RoboCop. That was the joint with the 2 arms,
Oh,
like
yeah,
you're
they gonna came
violating
down?
the space and shit. Yeah, you got to roll up on me with a big ass robot, man. I'm gonna kick that little trash can over.
But that's the
Oh,
thing,
that was
man.
a
They're
trash
coming
can?
out with all these things, man, and it's just a matter of time before our world would be like
That's wild.
what's
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
What's
Now
that,
here's
like
a
chair?
question.
It's a robot. Like they have robots
What?
that are doing like stripper moves and stuff.
Yeah, that's what we were
Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah.
You saw that?
Stripper bots, man.
No, I'll be in that joint. Just keep sweating the shit out of that joint. Dog.
They be jugging that.
Like, just, man, you for real? You for real? We see D, he's already like this.
Oh god, I'll be in that joint.
No, Bitcoins. This
Oh.
Bitcoin. He be on that Bitcoin.
So
Yeah,
wait,
you know,
so will like sex
lasers.
robots take the place of real women?
No, I don't see it. Maybe you have to do like some chemical.
He's thinking about it.
No, because there's
Have you seen
there's
Ex
a
Machina?
connection
Once you get to Ex Machina level at that, maybe.
on a
Maybe.
psychological
Maybe.
level. There's a connection between flesh,
If you
right?
can make
like
your
there's
wife like-
there's a biochemic kind of a reaction when you touch flesh. Like there's a chemical
Okay,
electrical
so if they make
reaction.
you flesh,
But
make the
those
robot
things
flesh
can
like, yeah,
be-
it can be done.
Those things
I don't
can
think
be
it'll ever
fooled.
take the,
It's a
I
matter
don't
of
think it'll
time.
ever take the place
It's
of
a matter of
organics.
time.
You have to-
Organics can be fooled.
you have to
that's
do
what,
some-
That's what biology. That's what chemistry is.
I can see that, but
It's
I think
all
I think
fooling
it's
your
going to be
biology.
more on like the virtual level, right? Where maybe they'll
Some
inject you
Twinkies
with
up.
some kind of chemical that will release dopamine or whatever chemicals released in your brain during sex, and then you have to show me the visual. It's not going to be like touching a robot because there's nothing human
But
about it.
dopamine
You know what I
gets
mean?
released when you're happy, though. So if you see a new car or like you get a promotion, you're like, yo.
Mhm.
and busting a nut is what brings the dopamine.
I mean,
Like,
even
it
a
don't
monkey,
matter what you bust it on.
even a monkey can make you bust a nut. You know what I mean? We were talking about that before the cast. Like at the end of spoilers for War of the Planet of the Apes. At the end of Planet of the Apes, this little girl's rolling off with a pack of monkeys. Right? She's the last human that we see in the movie. She's with monkeys. What does she do when she's 16? And she wants to procreate. She's gonna have to have sex with one of the monkeys. Okay, that's not gonna be easy. You know what I mean? Like, so it's the same thing. Like,
There's porn that where women have sex with all kinds of
that's
animals.
like
so.
like bestiality though. Like, come
Damn,
on, that's
dude,
never
you
gonna be
fucking
mainstream.
ruined that movie for me. I didn't even thought about that shit.
Right? Like, that
That
little
little
girl's in
gonna
trouble.
grow up with a bunch of monkeys, and she gonna be like,
That little girl's in trouble. I was telling Jay she might commit
damn.
suicide.
She gonna be looking at
She might get,
Muscape, be like,
yeah, she'd be like, ooh, if he shaved a little bit, maybe I could, you know. She had to shave the monkey.
but she's.
What is she gonna do?
But isn't
That
her
little girl is
brain
dead.
like? Isn't her brain like deteriorated or something?
Well, she has the
That
virus,
She was
but
just mute, I think.
But yeah, that was part of it. But their brains were deteriorating, or it was like a segment of their
Look,
brains
Ace,
that
you gonna
were
have to share
deteriorated
that.
because of that.
sorry. Ace been trying to hog the wine, people.
All right, so I have another question I want to bring up about these robots, and it's the question of the moral dilemma that this brings us to. So robots. We mentioned
morality
earlier
when it
why
comes to robots.
that's the question. Is there like is it having a slave morally wrong, or is it okay if that slave happens to be a robot? And then on top of that, it's like is when we have these robots for certain things, such as say we want to vent our frustrations on these robots, will that quell these frustrations we have, or will that expand our frustrations and make it so eventually this robot won't be useful for that anymore, and then we still have to take these frustrations out into the real world or dealing with interactions with other real people? Like, those are tricky questions that you gotta ask when dealing with your robot. Like, when these people started abusing this robot, it was because they saw it as a machine in which they could do anything to.
But wouldn't you rather have people abuse a robot than an actual person? Like,
Of course.
You would, yes, you
so
definitely
that
would.
would.
But does
They
that
might come in
does that
handy.
curb the
Well, that stopped them from
want?
abusing the
Or
person.
does that feed the want and the desire to?
That's a tricky thing.
'Cause, like, for
that's the
example,
question.
another question that I was trying to bring up was like they have dolls that are like that resemble children for like lolly fetishes or like Lolita, this and that, right? And it's kind of for pedophiles try to curb that desire, is that going to curb it or is that going to just feed into it?
Yeah, that's the real question.
Either
And
way,
then, like,
pedophilia
is that wrong?
But it's also something the person can't turn off in themselves. So do you just lock them away just because you find out they're a pedo, or do you just be like, do we kill them? Like, what do we do with them? Like, or do we allow them? Do we have them? Do we provide a artificial outlet for them? And would providing an artificial outlet for them
feed
that or curb that desire?
I don't feel like, regardless whether it feeds it or curbs it, I don't think it's gonna. I don't know if it'll feed it, but it's not gonna stop it. Because, like I say, even with sexually, there's nothing that will replace a human element. Like that unpredictability of a human. Even if for like a kid, a pedophile, the way that child reacts, unless you make that robot completely sentient to the point where it is human and able to have the rights of a human,
it may be a matter of time.
It'll never have the reaction of a human. And that, I don't know, man. Even sexually, that can, depending on what you're talking about, that'll either curb or feed whatever kind of need this person is trying to fulfill. But it's nothing will replace the human element in it. No robot. I don't care if it's a child blow up doll. That pedophile still gonna want a human. You know what I mean? Like sexually, that man will still want a human being. That's my personal opinion. I don't
That's
think
the thing. So a lot of these questions we can't really answer until.
But I would want to find out for myself.
Sex robots are mass produced to the point where everybody. Until I get one.
Yeah,
I can't tell you.
but
until I get my own sex robot, I'll let you know.
As far as the question of slave, right? I mean, it's a machine, So like, if you're gonna put the robot into the same context as a slave, you might as well put a car into the same context as a slave. It's a machine. It does your bidding. It takes you where you want to go. You can nut on a car. You can do whatever you want to a car. I mean, the same thing with an airplane, a computer. Where does it stop? So I mean,
yeah. That's a good question. Like, is it different because these robots happen to look like people?
No,
or are they still machines? I'm with you on that, John.
I should be able to do whatever the fuck I want to do to this robot.
It's still just a bunch of circuits and connectors.
I'd treat her gently. I'm not saying I would be over the top with my sex robot,
That's what you say right now.
I'd do some things. I mean, we do some things.
Beat me on John with hot candle wax.
Yeah. I pour it right on her. You like that?
And she shut down.
I pour a hot candle wax on her. You like that?
She's like, ouch.
She like doing it
like
again.
Stephen Hawking over there.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Hey, Stephen Hawking, man, that's a weird sounding. I mean, Jesus, man, is he still alive?
Yeah.
Man,
Still kicking it.
how? No, he looks like he's 1,000,000 years old.
What disease did he have? Like
Some kind of like
degenerative.
Yeah, where he just can't.
Multiple sclerosis. That was this.
Stephen Hawking. You know what I'm talking about? The guy who talks to the computer. He just sit there in his
Super
chair.
geniuses talks to the computer.
Actually, it's funny because they asked him. I've always been curious about his voice, and they asked him before. They were like, "Hey, do you want your original voice? We have enough data from your past where we can kind of like, we can give you your
look at the
old
video.
voice
That
back."
shit looks weird,
right? And he said no. He said he's kind of grown used to his robotic voice now that that's just part of his personality.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that too. I mean, that's as far as I've known him. I don't even know how he sounds.
He had a I think it was a movie that was out that was based on his life.
And I'm sorry, Samantha, baby. I'm not trying to compare you to Stephen Hawking. Okay, my future Samantha, whoever I'm talking to right now.
Bone Quisha.
I definitely own a Samantha. Hey, come on, Juice. I wouldn't have to name her Bone Quisha. She could be named Jasmine or something. I would. I name her.
What else your name?
I name her. Shanae. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So then, what if they start making like transgender robots, or
I guarantee they already have.
Dude, that's gonna be immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right,
actually, that might come out the same time.
And see, we're talking about Samantha. We could also be talking about Larry.
Sam.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna stop at just a woman robot. Yeah, they're gonna make
I wonder what would have
transgender.
happened.
They're gonna make hermaphrodite
If they put
robot.
a male robot out there instead of a female robot, would the same thing would have happened? Would women have come up to their robot and abuse it?
I think the damage might have been worse. People got pissed off at Ken. You know what I mean? He's sitting there all perfect. It's perfect. Perfect hairline and shit. Yeah, that's all.
I think they might would have.
People hate Ken?
Well, fuck you up.
I don't know.
What, Ken the sex robot? Yes.
If it was Ken the sex robot, you
I'm
think
whoop Ken's
people would...
ass. You just sitting there chilling?
Deviant that show.
Especially if he was sitting next to Samantha. Okay, is he there by himself or is he there with Samantha?
He turns off.
Yeah, I'm like, you sitting next to my fucking girl?
Get away from my robo girl.
Yeah. I don't know if it might
That's
have
a good
been
question,
worse.
though. I don't know, man. Like, Maybe not, because women aren't necessarily motivated by the same
it probably
drives
not
men
a-
are
yeah.
motivated by.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been.
So maybe it wouldn't have been so bad.
I mean,
But
think
then,
about something like the porn industry. What is that fed by? It's fed, I would say, by men mostly. I mean,
Absolutely.
as far as the consumption of it, it's the
women like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, they
not a
do.
single
Women
man
like-
in this
yeah,
world
women
has
like
seen
that
that
stuff, yeah.
movie.
Y'all never seen that movie?
were men in the movie theater? Did you go to movies to see it?
I didn't go to the movie to see it, so I don't know. I saw it at home.
I heard it was on some crazy stuff though.
It was like a soft porn.
I heard people was up in the movie theaters like, oh shit, like what? I didn't bring my Samantha.
Here's Zippy.
Could I go see that with? Could I go see that movie with Samantha? I'll take Samantha to go see that movie. Samantha's a sex robot, people. I'm definitely taking her to the movies. We have date night.
Samisha.
What is with the
Her girlfriend. Her girlfriend probably end up getting mad. You always taking her. You don't never take me.
You can take both of them.
I'm like, it's her turn to go.
And then Samantha and your real girl would be like with each other, and you'd be left out.
You wouldn't think about. You
fucked
wouldn't.
up.
I didn't even think about that. That's fucked up. Yeah, that is fucked up. I'm like, what are you guys doing together?
He's offended.
Yeah.
D walk in. What the hell's going on there? How could you?
Oh man. Yeah, for real. How could you?
Y'all not thinking about all that.
Oh shit, man. That's
That might
crazy.
be kind of freaky though. Like there's Samantha and my girl.
Yeah,
like,
I'm waiting for the
like,
next Judge Judy, yo, when that shit comes on.
Yeah.
Like, yo.
People like Samantha, the sex robot, is suing so and so.
Well, I have custody. I have custody.
Yeah, what's that custody of the child? In that court voice. Samantha, the sex robot.
Next time.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, come on, we'd all try it. The sex robot, that'd be cool. You know, even if it was a cooking robot, if it was Samantha the cooking robot, I'd try the shit out of that joint. Like, yeah, go make me something to eat. You know, make me whatever. You know.
No way that joint be seasoned though. Robot
Might
can't
have a
season.
little- Yeah, because the robot can't
But
taste.
they know ingredients, so they know ingredients like.
What if it has a taste
pinch of
sensor?
Salt.
That would be tasting.
Mm-hmm.
Robot can't taste.
You upload recipes, it'd be like a dash of salt,
Yeah, you know.
a little bit of cumin, a little bit of paprika.
Right, that'd be awesome though, because then you could like you said,
It'll be-
upload
it'll be literally
recipes. And,
perfect. No,
Didn't they talk about having SD cards and chips and stuff, so you could probably
Right.
do all that? Like,
Hold on.
when
what
you-
movie was that where they kept putting like different programs in the robot or whatever, man?
Matrix.
It's probably some movie. Yeah, I think it was something. Yeah, something like the Matrix, right? I'll have my Taibo joint on there, or my.
in Japan, they already have robots cooking ramen,
Mhm.
and they already have Japan people like rolling like sushi and stuff. And people were comparing it. They're like, it tastes the fucking same.
Because of sushi.
Yeah. So like,
But you can't do lasagna like that.
you don't know.
I hope not.
I
These are
would-
my,
you know,
these
I
are my
would-
innermost fears. Like,
Yeah, I would buy it.
talk about.
Mhm.
Like, you like the lasagna?
Samantha.
Samantha. Coming out.
Robisha.
With a little apron now.
You could definitely see.
Robobisha.
I could definitely see my girl getting jealous because I'd be spending all my time with Samantha.
Samantha,
Just
You know
be me
what?
and Samantha. We'd be watching TV
Maybe that's
together.
why. Remember the cartoon The Jetsons?
Mhm.
They had
Oh, yeah, they did
Rosie.
have- yeah,
Rosie. and-
Rosie.
Yo, that's
Yeah,
what's up.
yeah.
Yeah,
Rosie
dude,
ain't
you
having a
notice?
body
You
yet.
noticed
That
they
used to be
completely
my
skipped
show.
the Rosie and went right to the sex robot stuff.
Mhm.
Like we
That
didn't.
is true.
There is no rolling orbital robot on one
R2D2
wheel
kind of thing.
zipping around. Like we're talking about sex robots.
Wow.
You just completely skipped that jump.
What about the robot that was in Blank Man? Was that?
Oh, see, you
that
talking about
movie?
J5, man? Come
J5?
on, man. That shit was sad as shit when J5.
Dude, they
blew
have
up, dog.
J5s right now. I saw this robot the other day, man.
Mhm.
Like, oh, that shit was sad as shit.
They said J5. Yeah, that joke blew up.
So
That
that's
shit was
the same
sad
thing,
as hell,
though.
man.
Sex robots could blow up in the middle
No,
of
but
having sex.
J5.
Dude, wait a minute.
J5 wasn't
what
anatomically
was that
correct.
one robot movie? Dang, I can't remember, but it was pretty much Johnny Five.
Mhm.
And
It was Johnny 5.
It was
That
Johnny
the name
Five.
of it,
Yeah.
That was John.
You talking about Blank Man, but it was
Yeah, J5 was in Blank Man, but Johnny
Live
5
Wired
was,
or
no, I think it was
Live
Johnny 5. That's the name of that movie. I know the joint you're talking about. That robot that was rolling around,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on a little.
Dog.
All right, what if it
Factor
gets,
joint.
Shit was
so
sad as shit,
advanced,
man.
right? It's
I
kind
love
of
that
like
robot.
Prometheus, where you have David then.
Oh, see, now David,
Now,
man.
did David have any sexual organs? I don't even know.
I bet
Could
he
David
did.
have sex?
Bet he
See,
could.
now we're getting off into like, movie science fiction robots who could possibly have sex. Stick to Samantha. Stick to my favorite subject. I'm telling you, I would treat Samantha right, man. You know, I wouldn't have abused her. And let's also from the
I
article.
wonder if they have like maintenance on her, like tune up.
What about David's AI?
What kind of cleanup process
every
has to
3
go on?
months, you know, you gotta like, you know, oil her like gears and her joints and whatnot.
What's that joke where they kept putting the oil? And it was like, tuck, tuck, tuck. Was that the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
They kept squeezing
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
oil
yeah.
joint. Yeah, that's how you be in a joint. Put a little oil in there.
Slice. See what you made? The Wiz?
Why you gotta go with the Wiz?
I love that movie.
I said the Wizard of Oz. You took it to the Wiz.
Some more.
Yeah, I didn't like the Wiz.
What? Ace, that is the most sacrilegious thing I've ever heard you say, Ace.
Get out.
Dare you?
For real, I'm about to say, get out.
The Wiz?
Ace,
Get on down. Get on down.
I didn't
The
like
road
Wiz.
on.
I like the Wizard of Oz better than the Wiz.
You can't tell me that joint wasn't freaky in the Wiz when they was trapped in that little subway station trying to get to the fence, and that dude came down the steps with that little,
the
piano,
Muppet?
the little Muppet joint, and them shits was growing and shit. I was like, yo, shit.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Fucking
yo.
trash cans was coming alive. That shit was crazy.
The lion broke out of that joint, started singing and
Hey,
shit.
that nigga did say slide some oil. Oh, that nigga was crying like shit. Ace, come on, Ace. I know you didn't mean that. You love the Wiz.
Oh, I love that movie,
No.
man.
Ace, you love the Wiz. Come
love
on.
No.
The Wizard of Oz was a classic.
Wait, which one did you see first?
What do you mean, which one?
Which the Wiz
Oh, the
or
Wizard of Oz. I saw the
That's
Wizard
probably
of Oz.
why I saw the Wiz first.
I saw the Wizard of Oz first, but I like both of them. But the Wiz is
Which
like
one
a
was the
different
Wizard
flavor
Oz?
of the same
Is that
thing.
With Dorothy and...
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah,
like which actress or?
Because I saw the Wizard of Oz in black and
Yeah,
white.
I saw the black and white
Mhm.
one, then they did the remake.
Oh yeah, I didn't see the black and white one until later. I saw the Wiz first, and then I saw some weird like kooky, like psychedelic version of the Wizard of Oz, where it was like this robot dude and this pumpkin-headed like
You're making
scarecrow.
up stuff.
Sounds
No,
like I
I'm
might have
telling you,
seen
man.
something like that. Yeah,
That
sounds
shit,
familiar.
that shit weird as shit though.
Mhm.
That shit, I saw that joint when I was a kid and I was in California with my aunt. Real talk, that shit scared the shit out of me. Cause that movie was weird as fuck. I can't remember the name of it. It was some Wizard of Oz movie.
Man, damn it, Juice. Now you got that shit stuck in my head all day. Slide some oil. Yeah, that's that was
Let
the
it
shit.
trickle
So
down.
wait, what song did Michael Jackson sing? You know what I heard? I heard a lot of those dance moves, and as you know, a lot of him walking as the Scarecrow wasn't actually Michael Jackson. That's why, like, you weren't. They didn't. If you notice in the Wiz, they didn't zoom in whenever he was like kind of walking and tripping and fumbling over himself because they were scared that he was going to get hurt. You know how the Scarecrow would walk and lose his. He would lose his legs for a minute and stumble or something.
Yeah.
Like they never showed the face of the Scarecrow, or they would zoom out and show him doing all that stumbling and tripping stuff, it was just weird. I was like, man, that wasn't Michael Jackson. So a lot of the dance moves was Michael, but a lot of times when he's walking and kind of, fumbling and tripping over himself, I heard that wasn't him. That's what I heard. I don't know.
Taking video.
Hey, that's what I heard though. I don't know.
What? No, man, that's ridiculous. Like, because there was at one point he like tripped and then he popped back up and he did the Michael Jackson spin where he rotated like 45 times. That was Michael Jackson. Nobody else can do that.
It was hard though. That shit was hard.
Maybe Neo could do that, but that was like after years.
Who's that, Neo?
I love that movie.
Maybe Neo could do it.
Ace, you didn't mean
Maybe
that.
Chris Brown could do it.
Ace, you didn't mean that. I'm not going to take you seriously on that.
Let me try this jump, man.
It's okay.
Ace,
I'm just
we
saying.
gonna be forever if you don't like the Wiz. I saw that. She was like, "Why the fuck this shit won't come out?" All right, so any other final closing out thoughts on Samantha the Sex Robot? Besides, I think all you guys should get me one. One of you guys should get me one for Christmas.
I wonder if that's going to have an impact on like the human population, such as like the amount. Like, for example, you know how Japanese, the country itself, the birth rate is declining. Maybe they're onto something.
I think depopulation is a real thing.
So,
because
we need to depopulate because
even-
we're
but how do you
way
say that, though?
overpopulated.
That sounds like a...
Futurama even had this where they had like the sex robots where like no one wanted to be in like a real relationship anymore because like fuck man like
That sounds like a morally abstract kind of
She
thing.
bends over, you put a Blu-ray in her, you know what I'm saying? You can watch, you can project TVs on it, it'd be crazy.
Right in
You
the
put a
crack.
Blu-ray in that?
That might have like...
You got Blu-ray, she look over there, her eyes glow, and you got projector screen, like...
That might have a negative effect on population though, because nobody want to be in a real relationship after that,
But our population is booming.
Right.
There are more people now than there have ever been.
Yeah, but you can't say like we need to
But
depopulate.
birth rate has...
I can see
but
the
birth rate has declined in Japan, though.
Yeah, that's because they're so uptight that nobody can flirt
I
with
mean, even
nobody
like in
else.
China, you can only have a certain number of kids, and you know,
Right.
you
But
gotta
here's the
pay
thing:
for
it's
the
not
other ones.
about like saying, "Oh, you guys need to stop having kids." It's about distracting people from having kids. It's like you don't be like, "All right, we got to kill every third child because
Well, yeah,
there's too
of
many
course.
people." You be like, "Oh, we give them incentives. We give people incentives to have less kids."
Or I'm going to make it more expensive for you to have kids.
'Cause
which is
everybody's
leave
gonna
you
die
down
It's
to
already
basics.
more
eventually.
expensive.
Mhm.
anyways.
Everybody's gonna die eventually.
But how
It's
can
not
you
an
say
issue
I
of
should not
running
have
out.
8 kids? Like, if I want to have 8 kids, that goes down to a fundamental like
There shouldn't be a
human right.
law against it. I'm with you. There
Yeah,
shouldn't
I
be a
mean,
law
right?
against having 8 kids.
Because everybody, I mean, you can have as many kids
you
as
pay
you
more
want.
taxes if you do.
You
That's
ever
like-
see that- you ever see
that's
that
like,
show,
the
that
legalization of
20
marijuana.
20 and growing.
Yeah, the Duggards.
Mm.
Yeah,
Duggards.
that was crazy.
That's some sick. Those
But
some
look at where
redneck
they're at
motherfuckers.
though. Like they're in what, Idaho,
Mhm.
somewhere up there. You know what I'm saying? They have like land.
Ain't shit else to do but have kids out in
Yeah.
Idaho.
And, like,
Potatoes.
I'm pretty sure it's boring as
potatoes
shit out in
and
Idaho.
kids.
man.
Taters and
You
kids.
probably got some other places like was it man, probably got the capital city.
Coming from a long day of hoeing,
Mm-hmm. Go
come
have a
back
baby.
in, do some hoeing.
Man, who knows, man? I don't know. That's like, if you tell me I can't have a certain number of kids, that's
carbon.
almost infringing on my rights to be a human being, you know? Like, how much more free can you be with yourself and your body than to have a kid, right? So, like, depopulation, it's kind of like, I don't know, the morality of it is crazy to me because you can't control
I don't
how
know.
people should have kids.
Look, here's
But I
the
see
thing.
the need in it because
Yeah.
we're going to run out of
Otherwise,
natural
we're gonna kill
resources.
everybody.
It's not going to be enough to go around.
Yeah, it's a matter of scarcity, man.
I don't know.
But
Scarcity
I'm
is
not
a
saying
term too because
killing
they
people.
keep things
I'm not saying
scarce on
killing
purpose. You know, things are
you're
kept
right.
scarce on purpose. I mean, I don't think there should be a
But
food
is
shortage
food a
anywhere
thing?
on the planet.
There shouldn't be.
There should be
There
enough
is.
food produced.
Yeah,
Because that's because markets dictate it. You keep the demand up. People are willing to pay whatever. You
We
know.
also waste so much food in the United States.
Think about anytime you go to a buffet.
Definitely
Think about all the
put some
thousands of
old shit
buffet
in the
places that
fridge,
are
though.
open all
think
across the
about the
country.
groceries I throw out like that goes bad that I don't get to cook.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's wasteful. It's wasteful. It definitely is.
I got a fridge full of food and I went to Taco Bell.
But I mean,
I'm going to hell.
as far as the sex robot, I think one of you guys should buy me one for Christmas. That's my
Just
my
start
thought.
you a GoFundMe and you know.
I should have started Samantha the sex robot GoFundMe. I bet you I might get $5,000.
See, we joke about this.
If I started that joint on Facebook-
I see Samantha sitting right there, I'm gonna be like,
if I started that joint on Facebook and it
Maybe
went
some
viral,
tennis.
people
Somebody
might.
already beat you to that. They probably
Probably
got
I mean, people might go ahead and be like, you know what? Let me donate $5 to this fool so
you know,
he can
and
get his robot.
we're talking
By the time that shit goes in, yeah, I have
Precast, we're talking
$5,000.
about this about how can you really fault the people who abused that robot? And I was telling Juice, I was like, look, man, we're just human natures. We're just curious, not necessarily about like hypersexual, but like, look, man, if no one's looking, or if my boys are here, I might do something to
I'll
show
try it
off,
out.
or something stupid. And I was also saying like there are brass statues out there. You know, obviously over the years they've decolored and deteriorated a little bit, but if you look at the genitals of these statues, like they're polished, and it's like the brass or like the genitals, and it's I don't know, it's kind of
Fingerprints?
funny, but it's like
People in that joint on the boobs just like polishing
Oh, yeah.
the boobs on the robots.
Yeah.
Or on
I mean,
the
definitely.
I always wonder why they didn't make the penis bigger on like statues and stuff like that.
But if I
was
saw
just curious.
if I saw a statue of like Mona Lisa with boobs,
that would be
I'm gonna touch a
creepy,
boob.
dude.
okay, so I actually read about that. I actually read
Statue
up on
of
that
David
before.
doesn't have any
So,
arms.
so
like-
I actually read up on that. So the reason
But he
why
got a
a lot of
long- come
they
on.
say Greek statues or Roman statues, right, is because they found that it was just a belief that if you have larger penises on statues, right, it's kind of associated with more evil or associated with more like whatever it was. So a lot of the penises were actually just either normal size or just smaller to show innocence, to show like, hey, naivety, show like purity, essentially.
Because a lot of religious,
But that's just
What?
that's what I read, and I was like, oh.
So
a
the
lot of
Greeks were like, small dicks are a good thing.
It shows innocence. It shows like
Small dicks are a good thing.
so.
a lot of
crazy,
ancient religious ideology is based upon sex. Like a lot of it is sex worship and the explosion or the feelings that are created during sex. You know, a lot of it is, man, and that's why penises are inscribed in old statues and genitalia. They were saying that like was it like the obelisk, right? like the Egyptian obelisk is the representation of the male penis, right? Even the Ankh, like I'm seeing that Ace is wearing and Juice, that oval in the Ankh is the representation of the womb, the female opening, you know? And so a lot of it is sexual based. So I can see what Jay is saying as far as the size of the penises and everything like that. Maybe if you had like a bigger penis on a statue, sorry about the phone ringing. If you had a bigger penis, you could probably be like it's kind of devilish.
But
Or
they make the boobs a regular size, you know. That'll make
well, we can't take away everything, Ace.
Pick and choose
Yeah,
battles.
like, dang, we already making the penises smaller.
They made the boobs wrong.
It's,
Well, how to look at it.
it's nurturing, man. It's for kids.
Human beings are sexually deviant creatures, and that's never going to change.
But it's not deviant. It's natural, dude.
It's
like that's the thing. Like
deviancy, though,
it's
'cause
deviant
people have
from
all
a
types of
very.
fetishes.
It's deviant from a Christian.
You personally might
perspective,
like
a
a
very
certain thing that another
reserved
person wouldn't like,
perspective.
but they might consider that kind of deviant, right? Like
But
deviancy
If
doesn't
they're
always
human,
have to be.
if they're human, sex by definition is not deviant because sexual is in nature.
Mhm.
It's the most natural thing. So not having sex will be deviant. If we're talking about from a natural perspective, right?
Don't you talk about Samantha like that?
But even just like look at art. If you go to a museum and you know like they have the old pictures of art, everybody's like naked
Mhm.
and everything like that. So
It's a
like
natural thing.
yeah.
I went
And
to
also, when you think about it, historically, sex has been a cohesive force for humans. Like if you're talking about like ancient paintings and stuff. Like sex was a very cohesive force in the societies. Like that's what kept societies together, right? Like that's what produced more children. That's what people like would show affection over for sex, as we do now. So it was like it's a very
the world
cohesive.
is the way it is because people are not having enough sex. It's not enough.
You know what? Maybe there's too many rules.
Maybe they
around
might be
sex,
having
man.
too much sex because the
Dude, I would
overpopulation
argue-
thing is.
I would argue that very possibly because biologically, again, I gotta say it again. Biologically, humans are not monogamous. Humans are not monogamous biologically. That's a
see-
cultural thing we've imposed upon ourselves from our Judeo-Christian history. That
It's
in
also
itself
also
has,
easier economically, though.
I guess.
Because
Why?
I mean,
Fine, it is a cultural thing, but it's still.
I mean, if you have like kids with like everybody, you gotta support your kids. Then you know what I'm saying.
I mean, but here's the thing. Like, so it's only because we traced lines of male paternity, but before that, you couldn't trace lines of male paternity because you just weren't really sure.
I can see
So
what Jay is saying,
the
though.
entire tribe, the entire groups,
Economic-
groups took care of everybody's kids because they were to them everybody's kids. So
See,
it wasn't like it was on one person to take care of this many kids and they need this much money to go to wherever.
They
Like
all did it collectively.
everybody did it together. And there was beliefs in certain tribes, certain groups, and certain societies where you needed to have, when a woman found out she was pregnant, she would have sex with different men to gain attributes, favorable attributes of these men, because she wanted those attributes in her child.
But that's economics then.
I mean,
That's
it's
some
the
deviant
belief.
shit.
It's
That's deviant shit right there. Though. You know what I mean,
That's
like I'm
economics,
like, yo,
though.
that's a
if she
hoe.
wants to have,
She wants
So you was talking about there was
attributes.
ancient hoes.
But it was attributes. It was attributes,
Basically,
and this
you
is
talking
it's all mythological because we know biologically that's not how it works. Once you're pregnant with that DNA, right? I think, right?
Right.
I've never been pregnant.
So if you get pregnant, like if you inseminate an egg, right, and then the chick has sex a week later, is that egg influenced by both sets of DNA?
No,
No, that's not how it
Are you
works.
That's
sure?
not how it works.
We know that. We know that now.
Are you positive?
Certain.
I'm pretty
I
sure I've
mean-
heard something like that. I don't know. I don't
think
know.
Both of the DNAs, no.
Because you ever heard about a chick having like 2 babies, or like a chick got pregnant twice
are,
at
like,
the same
rare
time?
cases.
Maybe that wasn't a real story.
But the 2 eggs were inseminated by different sperm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was 2 different eggs.
Right.
It wasn't the same egg that split.
yeah.
I don't know.
But I was
There's
gonna say,
different kinds of-
once
It's a weird
the
shit.
egg is fertile, right? Like it releases a chemical and
But I can see the economics of what Jay is saying, though,
Lots of
because based upon today's society, and even not today, 200 years ago, the economics of the situation would influence your decision to be monogamous and have more kids, because the more kids you have, the more expensive it is, you know? So, you know, you don't want to go out around and not be monogamous. You want to stick close to home and have a family, and,
I'm
you
not
know.
saying that that's how people should be.
But
now.
we all
I'm
know that
saying
that's not how people are. That's not how
Also,
human beings
a lot of-
are.
I'm
'cause
saying
we've all
that.
had
I'm saying if
multiple
we're talking about
relationships.
like what puts stresses on people and why the society is as it is, if we're talking about why people are stressed and why people are angry, why people run around doing crazy shit,
Right.
maybe it's because of the fact that
We're
we're
not having
we're
enough
pushing
sex.
our natural biology into the framework of a culture, and that
But
will
see, that's
cause
economics.
malicious
because the
outcome.
fact that you have to go to work
disease
every
as
single
we'll call
day
it.
and you don't have time to do the fun things in life, right? That can have an influence on the same thing as
It can.
sexually, you know, like. I mean, so monogamy doesn't really have so much to do with that. I mean, we all know we're not monogamous
I'm not
because
saying
we
it's
all
the
had
whole
multiple
aspect
relationships. So that's not monogamy right there, you know. So I mean, it's up to the person. It's up to the person. I'll leave it at that. But I know if they came out with Samantha,
How you gonna say you gonna leave it at that and then you gonna keep on going?
I had to get back to Samantha. Okay, I would definitely be monogamous.
You got a
with
crush out this jump.
Samantha. I got a crush on Samantha. I wanted me a Samantha.
Give me a Samantha.
Samantha Mark II. That's wild. All right. So I guess any other closing thoughts on Samantha the sex robot? Even though we didn't end off on Samantha the sex robot, I definitely had to take it back to Samantha.
Came back for seconds, yeah.
I definitely had to take it back to Samantha.
I'm gonna get you a Samantha, right?
For real, please.
Yo, if she cooks and all that stuff, man, like
She talks nice to me. She's like, you know, Derek, you're
Yeah,
a very
end up
creative.
divorcing y'all wives and leaving y'all girlfriends for Samantha.
Derek, you are a very creative.
Yeah, you know, give me positive reinforcement and shit.
damn, man.
Yeah.
See, why did you say something?
I
like
come in the
that?
house mad. I'm like, man, it's a long day. She'd be like, Derek, it's okay. Sit down. Take off your shoes. You know.
That third hand
Let me
comes
rub
out,
your shoulders,
rubbing
man.
back.
She go grab you a drink. and
Yeah,
come
you
back.
know, get your slippers and shit. All that old school shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The thing about now, you
Still
come
fetching
in.
slippers?
You're like, did you go to the store? Yeah, I don't want to hear that shit. You know, Samantha don't hit. No, Samantha don't do that. You know.
She's on Bluetooth. She already orders you.
Exactly,
like,
right? I could talk to her on Bluetooth and shit. I'd stay on the phone with Samantha all day. You be texting her and shit. So what are you doing?
She tell you a joke.
Yeah.
Knock, knock.
I want to know what happened. Who's there? Who is there?
It's about
Samantha,
knock knock.
The robot.
Yo, y'all might need to see Blade Runner. Then, watch Blade Runner. It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I heard that she was good. But I was trying to watch the first one because I never saw the original. But I couldn't find it for free anywhere, so I would have to pay for it. And that's the
Yeah,
whole
I
thing.
paid like $2 or something off of like
Yeah,
Netflix.
Prime.
Yeah.
Speaking about like monogamy and economics and shit, man, that shit reminds me like I was talking before the cast about like that guy. I listened to that video where he like traveled to 2137 and shit. And yeah, I'm not saying I believed it, but he was saying like there was a society where what do they call it, social, completely social society, right? So everything was provided for you. Your money, your food, as long as you didn't take advantage of the system, you had enough food to eat, you had a place to sleep and all that shit. But he was saying that it stifled human creativity and especially in the sciences and shit like that, because people didn't have to do anything. You know, you didn't have to go to work or everything was provided for you. So people were just kind of got complacent and got lazy. You know what I mean? So yeah, that shit just reminded me of that shit off the top.
I call bullshit off of that immediately.
You can see it though. You can see it though.
Look,
Because
if that was
if everything was
incentive
provided
for coming
for you,
back because people had too much stuff that they were providing too well
that's
for.
not his
So
incentive
I got to
for
come
coming
back and tell people that they got to live more fucked up lives so they can create better.
He was saying that
Fuck outta
he
here.
noticed that. You know what I mean? He noticed that, and you can see it though. You know, after a couple generations, a couple of having everything provided for you, and I don't have to try to do anything. I'd rather go surfing than go
I guess
do
that
studying
would
and
explain
anything like
like
that.
the rich, like millionaire kids. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they just fucking lazy and they just
Don't do anything.
A lot of times they get the shit
Because they're
handed to them
millionaire
anyway.
kids, right?
A
So
lot
the
of
fact
a lot
is
of
that
things
if you
are developed
provide
in the
for it-
public sector and then privatized later on. So
The
it
fact
looks like
that-
a company
The fact that
invented
if
this
you
shit
are
and they did it.
provided for, you have more opportunity to think outside of the box. You're not forced to have to go to work at 12. You know what I'm saying?
No,
that's a
but
big ass difference in having.
If I wake up and know I'm carefree every single day of my life, eventually I'm gonna
You're
get to
gonna
the
be
point
bored.
where you might be bored, but
and you'll want to do something else.
But you'll have different things to do. There'll be, if you don't have to go to work 8 hours a day, sit in traffic or whatever, you have different time to do different things. Eventually you're gonna get to the point where I went jet skiing, I went skydiving, I went here, I did that. So yeah, you might get bored, but you'll find some other bullshit.
You know what else
to do.
it might do?
It
might prove true for like 99% of people who just go back home and watch TV until they gotta go to work the next day. That's what the fuck that shit leads to. Like, you can't say that that's a definite argument, like that, or that's the argument. Like, if that's a perspective, I guess, but there's nothing backing that up. There's nothing backing that up other than somebody's
no,
opinion.
because we haven't had that kind of society yet. But
We
he's
haven't
just saying
had that
that's
kind
what
of
he
society
noticed.
yet.
That's what he noticed
From the future.
I
Gotcha.
think in
I don't buy it.
I think in hindsight, people have to be controlled to a certain extent. We always talk about like control here on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. Like, and this way the society is set up and the system is set up for us to work and kind of enslave us through economics, but you have to control society at a certain point, right? Like you either have control or you have anarchism, right? You can't have anarchy.
I agree.
You know, like so
Anarchy
you
is
either
not
have to babysit the people and take care of them and give them all their food, or you have to make them work for it. You know, so which one do you have?
That's the thing. You're saying that people aren't working for it if this is a social society. Like that's not what happens.
Well, you
every
have,
social society. I know people
he
are
addresses.
working.
Dude, this was like an hour-long interview for this guy. I don't know how he came up with this story or whatever, but it was like an hour-long interview. And he was saying that people had odd jobs. You would help in the community. It wasn't like you just woke up and didn't have anything to do. And people had community jobs, but a lot more was focused on like the arts and culture. And he was saying that mainly he noticed that the sciences suffered a lot. Because you don't have to go. Everything is figured out for you. You know what I mean? I don't know. Shit.
Dude,
2137.
People who map the planets. People who work on like physics. Like there's nothing to gain from that personally.
True.
Like they're doing physics because that's what they enjoy doing.
Physics
like
be boring as shit.
physics, yeah, for us. For them, it's a fucking amazing. It's a puzzle for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they work in these calculations all the time, and they find new things. And they create new theories all the time. Like science is advancing off that. The problem is they're not finding funding for that shit because there's nothing to be gained.
No
from
economic return from it as far as companies go.
Yeah. So imagine if they could be funded eternally based on our society. Then what? What else could they have discovered? How much further could they go?
Which always amazes me, especially listening to Joe Rogan podcast, that more funding is not provided to like the sciences and like geology and shit like that. Like, do you think there's a secret government space program? I think so.
I heard something about that.
Do you remember like a couple years ago when they were talking about like $6 trillion went missing from the deficit or whatever, and nobody knew what happened to the money?
That didn't go to a space program.
Probably not, but
That
$6
went to
trillion
some
is almost an infinite
rich
amount of money.
Corporations' pockets. That's where that shit went.
I mean, that's almost an infinite amount of money, though. $1 trillion, dog. I mean,
That's a lot
it
of
could have
money.
been the space program. It could have
Based
been
on a miscalculation.
You could have fucking free healthcare for like years.
Yeah, that shit just went missing.
It just went missing.
Russia took it.
The fuck happened to that money? Okay, so
Next topic.
we're gonna get to the next topic.
I was trying to find a segue, but I couldn't.
Well, look, speaking of sciences and whatnot.
Because the intelligent idea talk podcast, we'll
what about
ramble
talking
on.
about like the missing original footage of like the moon landing then?
That shit was fake. I heard like Stanley Kubrick actually like directed the moon landing footage. That's what I heard.
You heard the moon landing was fake?
I heard it was fake. I heard that shit was fake.
I heard it was fake too. And
They
I
have whole
keep
studios
going.
set up for it and
That's
stuff
what I
I
heard.
keep going back and forth on that though,
'cause,
because
like,
we
you don't
do
know what to
have
believe.
shots. We do have pictures of the moon, right? So we have moon rock, which is really just rock, but fuck it, it's moon rock. It's like how much do we have that proves that it's fake, as opposed to how much we have to prove that it's real? And that's what
I would say the
issue
nail in
comes
the
in,
coffin,
'cause-
especially lately, is you lost the fucking footage. Like, what does that mean? Like, you lost
with
all the
these
calculations and the telemetry that you have from that space mission. That's a red flag, because that information should have been broken down a long time ago. That should have been archived in the, what did we go to? Was it the 50s or 60s land on the moon? That shit should have been archived in the 70s. Like, they should have been studied that, had it in textbooks. The fact that they didn't and that it's hidden and now lost is a huge red flag, man.
So what D's talking about is this video we came across on Facebook. I don't remember the guy's name who posted, and I can't seem to find the original link for it. But it was a short video. You guys might have seen it online or on Facebook. It's titled "NASA Lost Everything from the Moon Landing," and it's referencing footage from a documentary that was done that was called "Did We Go?" And this documentary is about whether or not NASA actually had sent astronauts to the moon and had them come back, and whether or not any of this was real, or if it was all, as Ace mentioned before, a Stanley Kubrick production stage to fool the American people and the world, for that matter.
I don't know, but I truly think that the government is capable of some shit like that.
Because we haven't seen any more moon landings.
We haven't seen any more.
haven't
Why
been
didn't we
back.
go back this year?
Right.
Technology should be
Or
way
any
more
other
advanced.
planets
Yeah.
or anything like that.
I mean,
We're
we went to
going
the
Mars,
moon that
though.
long
We're
ago.
going to be going to Mars.
I can see sending a probe, but a manned mission. And even a lot of the videos I've seen that are breaking down that, it's like that moon landing, you know how much shit would have to go perfectly according to plan. even if that ship came down when they landed, if it landed on a rock and kind of tilted the shuttle, I mean, they could.
We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on.
Thank you.
We didn't land on the moon.
Thank you, Malcolm. Okay, but yeah, I mean, like that slightest little thing could have went wrong. Like the mortality, the infinite danger of that mission should be a red flag that we didn't go. But I mean, this government is willing to blow people's brains out on TV. You know, I mean, that's right around the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King. I mean, they're killing these guys. You know what I mean? I mean, we were talking about I'm Not Your Negro.
What do you mean this government is willing to blow people's brains on TV? Are you saying that that JFK was assassinated by the government?
I totally believe so. Oh, snap.
You got the book!
Yes! Hey, broke out the I'm Not Your Negro.
I'm not your
book.
Negro.
I was looking for the documentary. You
got
gotta
the
let me
DVD
borrow
over
that
there,
joint,
John. I
man.
read the book.
Yeah, you gotta let me borrow that joint, man. I heard that's wild, man. That's why I am glad that we live in today's age because information is just so available and we can learn more than our parents knew around the time, especially about how things are on a global scale. Not on like a race
until you
scale.
have to start paying for YouTube.
Yeah.
Net neutrality.
Net
and all that
neutrality,
shit.
we lost. In case you guys didn't know,
R.I.P.
we lost.
I don't know if they faked the moon landings, but I do know that this government is capable of some shit like that. And I mean, who knows, man? I've heard shit like they faked the moon landings to get Russia to, you know, because they were in the middle of the Cold War around that time, to get Russia to drive its country bankrupt or the government bankrupt, trying to catch up to America's in the space race. You know, they wanted them to dump a bunch of money into the space program to get them into financial trouble, and you know that way America could come out on top in the Cold War. I don't know, man.
I guess so. I mean, it could happen. That's another thing.
And that's the scary thing is we don't know.
We don't know. And guess what? We won't.
I think the only time this shit will be proven is if we ever invent a time machine and people can go back and see for themselves, right?
I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if the Egyptians were black. We always hear about like Egyptians are like Middle Eastern and all this other shit. Egypt is in Africa. I would imagine that civilization was a hodgepodge of
black.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're black. I think we have enough evidence as far as the sarcophagi go that proves that they were black. Like they have black hair that was preserved.
I'd love to go to time
Like
machine
kinky
myself.
black hair.
We should create one.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I
Where
think
would you
Samantha
go?
could do it.
Samantha could go.
Where would you go?
If you could only go one place back in time, where would you go? Would you go back to the creation? Would you go?
Because I mean, there's a span of time where you don't want to be black
like the
in
Dark
that,
Ages and
that
shit.
range.
Yeah,
like
don't want
there's
to
a
be black
long
in
range
Europe.
you don't want to be black. You know what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
know.
Maybe before they landed on Plymouth Rock. And I could
But
talk
would
to
you
the
go
Native
back?
Americans. You know what I'm saying? See what the Native Americans had to say about all this shit.
Would you go back to like? I mean, because there's so much in history that you want to go see for yourself, right?
Right. And then if he was to do that, like, you would just be on the outside. Like, you wouldn't have to actually participate. So, like,
Like just watch.
yeah.
Like you want to see how the slaves interacted with each other on the plantation while they were in the shacks, and you want to see like
The civil
the
rights
creation
movement
of
and things
human
like
civilization, and you want to go back and see the ancient Egyptians and the ancient.
So where would you go
Grecians.
then?
I don't fucking know. If I had one place
Have
to
you
pick,
seen
I don't
that
know.
movie Lucy? It was a terrible
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Yeah, that's what.
But it's kind of like when she goes back and sees like the first like human Lucy.
It was cool.
The monkey.
Yeah, monkey.
That was a monkey.
I still
They
think
could've
my
done better
favorite
than that.
human creation story, as far as like as far as Hollywood goes, is definitely Prometheus. It's Prometheus, yes. That's my favorite human creation story, especially sci-fi Hollywood. Like all that Lucy shit was cool, you know. Whenever you see like a evolutionary kind of monkey, you know how we were during the caveman years and all that shit. But I just love the idea of Prometheus, man.
You
The whole
imagine
Of having an
Anunnaki thing,
engineer
If you
that
actually went
set it up
back
for
and you
humanity
saw
to come to
motherfucking
existence.
Prometheus,
Right,
like
yeah.
that, and then you suddenly warp back into like the present day. I wouldn't even know what to do with that.
Do you
knowledge.
think you can handle
CIA
the
be
truth?
in that joint.
No.
Do you come back?
Yep.
Your little red dot.
That's it.
I think your head explode anyway. Like if you really knew the truth of the world and the creation of ourselves, man, your head would explode anyway, man.
I take it.
Or even if you just imagine seeing like Jesus or like Muhammad or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'd holler at Jesus. Like, what up, Jesus?
Like,
Man, you black? You like fried chicken? Hey, Jesus, you like
He
fried
like,
chicken? Mhm.
He's black.
Like how they said, like,
I'm like, do the water thing.
at every party, he's just
Do the
like,
water thing.
bow, bow. Got you guys. Got you guys. What up, dude?
Everybody.
Jesus be running around playing duck, duck, goose. I'm like duck, duck. I'm like Jesus, you drunk, man?
Wine.
Duck, duck, wine.
Resurrection.
Yeah, we ran out. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, no,
Keep it going.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, damn, we only got 2 pieces of pizza left. Jesus, you know what I mean? You call him over.
Right.
He's gonna
Jesus,
bring his slices out.
Jesus will feed us with 2 slices of pizza.
That don't be a whole pizza.
Jesus would be handing out pizza.
I wouldn't be.
Damn, I'm glad Jesus came to this party.
Yeah, dude. Damn. Breadsticks.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, damn, I only got 2 breadsticks. Jesus.
Some fish sticks.
Jesus.
For real talk though, like no, the modern day, he probably called Jesus though, for real.
Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Look, Isa, right? Or it was what was his original name? Yeshua? Whatever. Anyway.
I don't know, man. The whole Bible, man. I heard the Bible's like just a big parody, man. Like,
Speaking of Bible, are you guys going to go to the new Museum of the Bible that opened up in DC?
Man, I
see
haven't
it.
made it to the Black History Museum yet.
Mhm.
Like that's further down. Like I can't even get into the Black History Museum.
I
yet.
would like to see it, but it'd be hard for me to take it seriously. You know?
I'm
We should
tripping
do a
how.
trip.
Why did they
We should do a
that?
trip. We should have a little microphone. We could just like commentary.
Mhm.
Just and then we.
And how are they doing it? Right. So that's another question I have
Because
because
Christianity, there's so many sects.
you can't say it all as fact in that junk, especially in the nation's capital.
I'll let you guys know. I have tickets. I'm going on the 23rd.
To the Bible Museum?
Yeah, I've been to the
Wow.
African American Museum a few times.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
So-
priorities.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right.
that one. So,
Would you ever go to the Creation Museum?
The
With
junk-
the ham something?
It's
something-
built like the Ark. of-
Yeah.
The,
I forgot his name. His last name is Ham.
I did see that. He was
Yeah,
Ken
Ken
Hill
Ham.
9.
Ken Ham.
Yeah, Ken Ham. Yeah.
Mhm.
where's that at?
It's in like Idaho.
I don't know.
It's way the
But
fuck
apparently,
out
it's
in the
like
middle of
losing
Mhm.
shit tons of money. But like, I
Because
mean, like,
Bill Nye went to that junk and debunked all this shit. He was like, that's some bullshit. Here's why. That's some bullshit. Here's why. This is some bullshit. Here's why. And
Bill
Ken
Nye
Ham tried to
is on
debate
his
him
side.
in the place. And he was
it,
like,
it just looks bad. So when I think of like the Christian Museum or like whatever, I think of
how would they?
Ken Ham.
Mhm.
I think of the Creation Museum. It's
Yeah.
like,
Like they already have that. And we
Like-
saw what happened. Why would they do another one in DC?
Because religion is just so big, man. People believe in
it's
Jesus.
a money making machine,
Yeah.
man.
And they were talking about like how
Biggest con ever pulled.
how patriarchal a lot of these mainstream religions are, like Christianity, Islam. They're so patriarchal, you know. Like the dude was saying, can you name a female angel, prominent female angel, you know? Or
There are none.
There are none. You know what I mean? So it's like you can see the creationism, like everything that we
Oh my
know
God.
about God.
Manya?
One of those Orishas.
Yeah.
Like, everything we know about God comes from the mind of another human being, you know. Even if you believe that it was the divine word of God, it was transcribed and written by a human, you know what I mean? So that right there should tell you the fakeness of it, but maybe the human element of it, you know, the influences that a human can have
I
over
would
that.
say it was inspired by God.
Mhm.
Inspired?
But a human wrote it. God didn't come down and write that book that you're reading and putting your whole life to. A human did, you know. It's weird, man. But
And all this started off with a burning bush.
Mhm. I heard that burning bush might have actually been, you know, I said it was sex worship,
It was tripping.
and a lot of it was like
Tripping balls.
they were taking shrooms. Yeah, like a lot of them were taking like hallucinogens and shit like that. What do they call it? Is it DT? What was Joe Rogan
DMT?
talking about?
DMT?
DMT, yeah.
Or
You
it
know.
could have been even peyote, man.
Mhm.
Cactus.
How that's found in plants and shit.
exactly.
And that's what he was saying that
DMT,
he was hypothesizing.
Mushrooms? They could have straight
Ayahuasca.
up mushrooms.
Ayahuasca, yeah, that was it. He was talking about he was hypothesizing that's what the burning bush was. The parable of the burning bush was he was hallucinating that shit. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
he came
saw a
back and
burning
was like,
bush,
oh
the
shit,
fuck?
guys, you're not going to believe this.
Yo, there's a fucking bush on fire up there. Say, y'all, it's a bush on fire over here.
What was it Joe Rogan talking about? It was something he was saying about like when Moses split the Red Sea, how like if anybody was rational in that scene,
Mhm.
they'd be like, wait a minute, so you just split this Red Sea instead of making a boat so we could just sail across? Why the fuck you didn't make a boat, you silly asshole? Like,
Real talk though, man.
why just make a
Even
boat? Why
if
you
I
gotta walk
believe-
through it for 5 miles?
Even if I believed
Maybe-
whoever
maybe-
it was,
The fucking ground
and
is
the
muddy
Red
as
Sea
shit.
split,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the balls to walk through.
Mhm.
Walk
Hell
through
no.
walls of water.
You probably see sharks and shit like
Yeah.
peeking out. Like what the fuck?
Shark just
You ain't
get
taking
somebody
the
go
one
right
side.
to the other side and shit.
Yeah, no.
Like I heard the whole story of the Bible is just a big parable. It's a story for you to draw a
See, parable, yes,
More-
but then,
moral-
but then like people they take that shit seriously. Like,
Mhm.
is it fact or is it fiction? You can't just cherry pick. You know, either it all happened or none of it happened.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
think it literally happened. Maybe there's some historical precedent to it. Who knows?
I'll
Man?
take it if it was a parable. I'm down with that.
We went from the
I
sex
think it's
robot
the
to Bible realism.
I know.
Welcome to the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast,
I
everybody.
think someone
Question
really
is-
Things
pillar-
haven't changed, Ace.
Pillar of salt. Release
We
one
can't
of the
stay on
Pillar
topic.
of Salt. It's like,
Yeah, right. From
Kosher
turning, looking
salt,
behind
maybe?
them.
Mm-hmm.
Sea salt.
the sea salt.
Yeah, I'm definitely not walking through that joint. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Why your ass didn't just make a boat, Moses?
Moses.
It must so much
Damn,
easier
silly
too.
Mm-hmm.
And like sea levels and shit, it'd be a big ass canyon.
I remember the tribes that were following them
Mhm.
from Egypt. They say they followed them into the
chasm,
pathway. Yeah, like if you just made a boat, they wouldn't be able to run after you.
And how the fuck they getting them chariots through that soggy ass ground? I don't understand how they pulling wagons and carts and shit through all that.
Did they just dry out the ground?
Yeah, it's fucking rocks and shit all over the place. You can't tell me the ground's even.
Shit.
Yeah,
So it's not a book to be taken literally. But
Bumpy
people will really believe that Jonah got swallowed by a whale, you know? Like
3 days or something.
well, you have to understand, people are like.
I heard the
generally
story of
silly
Jonah.
People.
You know how maybe it wasn't Jonah, but Jesus was asleep on the boat during the storm, and Jesus is not actually the worship of a man named Jesus. He is the Son. Like when we, in the Christian church, got it confused with, you know, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Son, S-O-N. But they were talking about when Jesus woke, they went downstairs and woke Jesus, and he calmed the seas. The parable to that is the sun rose, the sun in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
So once the sun rose and came up, the storm was over. He stopped the storm, you know. And that's the parable of Jesus coming onto the deck and calming the seas. Is that the sun rose and stopped the storm, you know? But it's weird because they don't teach it to you like
That's
that.
a deep ass sleep though.
Yeah, they don't. Right? And they were saying like Jesus was asleep, the sun was asleep, but they were like, well, how would Jesus sleep in a storm? You know, you can't sleep on a boat during a storm. Like, yeah, there's no way he's down there
On
sleeping.
a cruise, that shit's terrible.
Mhm.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's weird, man. They don't teach that shit like that though.
No, they teach it literally. But that's the thing, man. Like, so they say like there's levels of knowledge, and that like the intro level is where people take things literally. If that's where you leave it at, if you don't go any further, that's enough for a lot of people. And as you understand, the masses of people are kind of bought into that. Like for the mass of Christianity, that's pretty much what everybody believes. But you get into the scholarly levels, people start breaking it down in terms of parables, in terms of like different meanings and different levels of understanding. And then that's where the actual wisdom in the Bible can come from. But
like for the influence of Christianity to be so big in today's age, for them to have a museum, like Ace was just saying, opened up. Damn.
that's what I'm tripping
People
about.
still
It's
buying
like,
into
one
this
day,
shit.
You gotta tell us about
money
this.
went into this, man.
Ace,
Like,
you gotta come back. And you gotta tell
Oh,
us
you gotta
about
take pictures. Man, we need a
I would do
camera.
that. I would
it.
do
Damn
that.
it, yeah. We need a breakdown of this.
Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan's making me jealous, man. We need to catch up to Joe. Didn't
no,
they get a new studio
we
for
should,
Joe
we should,
Rogan?
we should do
Like,
like
host
a
Fear Factor for a
podcast.
couple years.
We should do a podcast, but like we should actually go somewhere and actually have like a traveling mic or something.
That'd be awesome, yeah.
Like, yo, this is what we see.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
Damn, that robot got some big titties.
So, are we
Get
ever
off
going
her,
to talk
get
about
off.
this guy who was on the sexual harassment thing? What's this dude's name?
Oh, the guy who came out?
Morgan? You talking about Morgan?
Yeah.
Or Spurlock?
Morgan Spurlock.
Yeah.
So,
You said the guy who came out.
Well, it came out.
The guy who came out and said I was wrong for Morgan Spurlock, and his film of note that we said before the cast was a documentary. What was it called? Fast Food?
Oh, the
yeah.
McDonald's one?
Yeah.
Super Size Me.
Super
Super
Size
Size
Me.
Me. Yeah. And I'll definitely we haven't seen this on Netflix.
I've seen that joke.
I never saw it.
It's a really good documentary.
So what
Actually,
happened
I
in the
heard
documentary?
I heard because of that movie.
Yeah, I believe
they no longer do super sizes.
Yeah.
Like super size, like
They
you
don't
know,
do super size
shrinks,
anymore.
yeah. Like
No.
all
It's
of
actually
that.
large and medium.
because
Because
of
I almost
that.
killed this dude in 30 days. I mean, he
Well,
ate
that's
it
his
every
damn
day
fault.
for 30 days.
Yeah, it's his
Nobody
fault.
told him to eat it.
Nigga, I ain't
every
take to eat a
day.
McDouble every day for, you know.
I ain't gonna front. I eat the bang on them McDoubles. Man.
Man, that's what they $1. No, that's why they said McDonald's is above
2 for $2.22.
a lot of other fast
Oh,
food.
yeah.
That's why they said McDonald's above a lot of other fast food because it's economics, man. It's cheaper to feed you got a family of 5
They call
kids.
that junk crack Donald's.
McDonald's.
It's cheaper to feed 5
there's
kids
nothing
with
else like
McDonald's from that dollar menu.
But it's not even a dollar menu anymore.
Oh yeah, it's like $1.39 and shit.
Economics, man. Hard time.
Good old days, man. Good old days. Can't keep that shit up.
Niggas used to go in there, order 3 McDoubles and a
Yo,
fucking
bro, do you remember
soda.
39-cent cheeseburger Wednesdays?
You can eat all day for $4.
You remember that shit? it was one. I don't know if you guys
I
remember
think they
this.
still have that.
39-cent cheeseburger.
Yeah, just a regular cheeseburger.
Yeah, but,
Every
but,
day.
but it was,
39
yeah, hell
39.
yeah. It was like once a month or something, like the last Wednesday or something.
I think they still have that.
I've never
They
heard
probably
of this
still
ever
do.
in my life.
39-cent cheeseburger, just regular cheeseburger. 39
Just a regular
cents.
one patty cheeseburger.
You know what their limit was?
But then you have to eat like
20.
8 of them.
20?
Because I remember I used to be like, yo, how many can I get? And they're like, max is 20. I'm like, all right, give me 20 then. What up?
All right.
For real, I'm like, here's $10. I got lunch for the next.
Morgan Spurlock. And I still don't really quite understand why we care about this guy, but I guess his sexual misconduct allegations is kind of relevant. Like him personally is like, you didn't produce anything that I really like a cult classic movie. Like you didn't produce RoboCop or some shit like that. So I'm not gonna.
Super Size Me was a cult classic. If you watch it.
Yes, it's not on the level of like it's not on the level of like Starship Troopers or some shit, like a science fiction cult classic.
Like The Thing, Stanley Kubrick.
But he was accused of sexual misconduct against a girl who says that she raped him.
I would say rape and sexual misconduct is two different things.
Well, see, now that's a loose term though, because she conceded and then said he raped her. She conceded as far as interacting in the act of sex, but then started crying. He stopped and then claimed that she was raped. So there had to be some acceptance of the sex somewhere in there. He had, unless he was, because he stopped, right? You have to factor that into the. Okay, basically, Juice, do you want to run through why this guy is, or do you want me to just keep going? Okay,
well, let me. So, long story short, what Kevin Spurlock did was he came out kind of jumping ahead of the release of what could be sexual misconduct allegations against him. So he came out ahead of time saying, I hurt them and I hate it, but it didn't make me stop. Saying that he was accused previously in his past, in his college years, of raping a girl. That he was, I think he had a one-night stand with.
Yeah, he said one-night stand.
And it says here in the article, a girl who I hooked up with this is Kevin Spurlock, a girl who I hooked up with one night on a one-night stand accused me of rape. Not outright, there were no charges or investigations, but she wrote about the instance in a short story writing class and called me by name. He wrote, a female friend who was in the class told me about it afterwards. Spurlock said he was floored by the accusation and initially denied it. Now that's where you fucked up, Spurlock. You don't deny it, Maybe he denied it because he didn't think it was rape.
You can't be like, oh yeah, I raped her.
Yeah,
but it's like Bill Clinton, right? Like, you denied smoking, you denied having sex with Monica Lewinsky. You did it, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you did it.
For him though, it's different because like he probably felt that was consensual.
Yeah.
Oh, it was definitely consensual at the time. Monica, I mean, come on, who's gonna turn down a blowjob for the president if you're a secretary? Dog? You can be like, yo, I can do this one dick and I got this shit. You know what I mean? Right? And one dick, she had a book deal, all that shit. You know what I mean? Didn't she have a talk show for a while after that?
I don't think she.
I swore she had a talk show.
I read that she hasn't worked since that.
Probably
not.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean, you're famous for sucking.
But I heard that she's been getting money.
But how many other people got famous for sucking dick?
True. She's probably jealous of the mother. She's like, I should just went into porn. I mean, well, shit.
No,
I mean, you got like chicks like. I'm not gonna go through some names of some of these girls I know. I mean, Pinky and other girls like that, Cherokee.
Oh yeah, I follow her on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. But okay, Spurlock was floored. Initially denied it. According to his memory of that night, he and the girl were, quote, fooling around in his bedroom when she said she did not want to have sex. After some time had passed, they began to have sex anyway. Eventually, she began crying, so they stopped, he said. I tried to comfort her to make her feel better. I thought I was doing okay. I believed she was feeling better. She believed she was raped. And that's the discrepancy here. It's like, it's he said versus she said, at the end of the day.
It's like, it
was
wasn't
she raped or was she not?
Yeah, like it wasn't an actual. That's the thing. So people look at it like, oh, rape. Rape is a powerful word.
It is.
So when they say, oh, he raped me, it normally doesn't come with he comforted her. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't. Those two sentences don't usually, or those two words usually don't go into the same sentence.
Right.
But he's like, oh, I was trying to comfort her. She started crying when we were having sex, and so I tried to comfort her. And he said, I believe that, or he was saying, trying to make sure she was okay, and she said she believed she was raped. Mm-hmm. Like at that point, like he wouldn't have stopped if it was anything malicious. So we have to be clear on that.
Yeah, you have to take that into account.
This guy stopping in the first place is indication that I would argue that maybe this isn't necessarily falling into the definition of rape, which I will always argue would be something of a malicious, selfish intent.
Now it's rape if she says it was rape.
I would say because like. When you think about rape, that would be a person doing things against their will, and that person wouldn't stop. Like, that person would wait till they're finished doing what they want to do.
It's a power. Yeah.
Right. And
Right,
then
right.
going about their business. So the fact, like you said, that he comforted her and tried to make sure she was okay.
Like, he didn't wait till he finished and then started talking.
Right,
about
like
it.
he stopped
Yeah,
in
he
the middle
stopped.
of it because she was crying and things like that.
So it shows some kind of indication that he cared about her. Therefore, this wasn't a malicious act.
But we don't know, too, if there was alcohol, if there was drugs involved, because initially she didn't want to. But, you know, there's been times, even me as a female, initially I'll be with the guy, I don't want to have sex. But, you know, after a couple drinks, and, you know, kissing on you and touching on you, and then, you know, you kind of get aroused and like, okay, you go through with the act.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we don't know the full details and everything like that.
We
of
definitely
his
don't,
story.
and I don't think this article
It's
says.
very limited.
This article doesn't say how she reacted. He just said that he stepped down after.
So I was watching TYT and they talked about it. I think they talked about after reading the actual account that he told from the letter, right? And what he wrote was that they were fooling around a number of times that night.
What is fooling around?
That's yeah, right.
Right,
Like,
is that
we all know-
making out.
Right, dry
Like,
humping?
We
Right.
all know at this table what fooling around is.
Yeah.
We know what it is. We just want to know
Was
the
like he
actual
eating her
legal
out? Was she
context
giving
of
him
it.
head? Like, what is fooling around?
I mean,
That's a good
fooling
question.
around
There's
could have been
levels
like
in-
having your
Right.
hand on my leg. You know what I mean? That's. You know, I'm like,
But if
hey,
they were like
and
dry
move your
humping,
hand.
if they were making out, like if they were like, where were her clothes on?
Right,
Like,
right.
like what level are we talking about fooling around here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
They
Like I
were in
said-
his bedroom.
I think the context
Not
of the
that that
article
matters, but
is relevant, but I don't know why we care about Morgan Spurlock as much.
no, this is
but,
all. This is really a reference to this whole outing of celebrity people in power, of people in power in general. Like we have the whole Al Franken situation that went down. So he stepped down, and I personally have some qualms with that because the investigation wasn't done. The way he said the reason he stepped down was he was implying that it wasn't him making the choice to step down. He was kind of forced out by the Democrats in power, or the Democrats that were serving, in with him. And I feel like do the investigation, find out if these accusations are legitimate, right?
But investigations take months, and
Yeah,
then you have to
years.
sit
Then
there.
let it-
and
then
then
let
you
it
have to
take
sit
the
there and
time,
deal
but
with the scrutiny for years
Like
and
I
years.
said in the last
But-
cast,
It'll
this is
be a
like a witch
distraction.
hunt, man. It makes me nervous. Yeah,
It
'cause,
does
like,
make me nervous, right? Because at what point does it become you get fired over accusations alone? Without the investigation, you need to know. Otherwise, you will be smeared.
And then you have to limit what you say. Like, you all could just be at work, and a female walk by, oh, you look nice today. And then she might think of, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Right, you get
inappropriate.
reported
Damn it,
Okay.
Ace, we should have had you here the last couple casts. And even they said that later on in this joint, that he was, they said he stepped down because of that rape allegation, but
Spurlock.
also, Spurlock. They said that also he was sexually verbally harassing a female assistant in his office, calling her hot pants or sex pants, and also that something I thought was funny. This is Kevin Spurlock. Something I thought was funny at the time, but then realized I had to completely demean and belittled her to a place of non-existence. Damn, that's kind of deep. Says
He's
that
saying that's what he felt like he did in hindsight.
that's what he felt like he
By
did.
calling her hot pants and
Says
sex
that
pants.
when the assistant decided to quit, Spurlock claimed that she demanded that he pay her a settlement or she would tell everyone about his verbal
And she
harassment.
still told everyone.
It was the last thing I wanted, so of course I paid, says
That sounds like
Spurlock.
extortion.
I paid
That's a
for
good point.
I paid for peace of mind. I paid for her silence and cooperation. Most of all, I paid so I could remain who I was. I am part of the problem. You got to commend him at least for stepping up and stepping down.
See,
But that's probably because he saw the shitstorm coming and was like, I don't want to do this
but the
shit.
thing is, like, see, when I first heard the story, I was like, okay, I commend him. But then I was like, what if he's just doing it first before someone else
Outed
stepped
him.
up and outed him? You know what I'm saying?
It's like, is this a selfish move ultimately? Could
Did
be.
he think it
but
was a
at the same
problem?
time, because there was one thing that came out. I don't remember who it came out, but I remember one of the calls from was that people were saying men need to come out and out themselves. So this guy does come out and out himself, and then the response is, "Oh, he's doing it because he's selfish, because he's trying to get ahead of these accusations."
I don't have any more. I pulled a lollipop out of my pocket, people. Ace stole it and Juice wanted one. My bad. It was
But yeah, like
She bring it up to
they're
share,
calling
yeah.
out Now they're calling up like, oh, he's not genuine about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. We know like there are a lot of celebrities and people coming out or being accused of sexual harassment, rape, sexual misconduct, and mostly it's females.
Mm-hmm.
Have there ever been a time where you as men have felt like you have been sexually harassed or...
Damn it, Ace, you should have been here a couple casts ago because we had the same question. Like, okay, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, you should have.
We had a conversation a couple casts ago about etiquette as far as approaching a woman. When is it okay to look at a woman? When is it okay to approach a woman? As far as if you see her on the street, if you see her on a bus, how long? When is it appropriate? Is it appropriate to stare at her? Is it appropriate to look at all? You know,
it's like the sun rule where you look at the sun just really quick.
And we were talking about Terry Crews, like, you know, he came out with that he was assaulted or sexually harassed by his boss or males and stuff like that. And the question was, it came up in both times, was like, can a man be sexually harassed? Right? Like a woman, you know, sexual harassment is clear, right? Like if you touched unwantedly by another guy, that's clear sexual harassment, right? But if a girl grabs Juice's butt on a bus, can he be sexually harassed? Like, is that? Is it the same thing? It's the same thing by the letter of the law.
If I'm not at all interested and it's unwelcome.
It's the same thing.
If it's unwelcome and it makes them uncomfortable,
it's unwelcome, but it's also immoral as far as a woman goes. And it's immoral both ways, but is it as egregious? You know, I don't think it is. Like, Juice is not going to react the same way getting his butt grabbed that you will. Yeah, you know, how dare you?
My word. No, I think it's society.
My word for sure.
It's society though. Like
I don't think it's the same thing at all, man.
And then I saw a video on Instagram. There was it was an 8-year-old boy, and there was a female, an older woman, dancing on him. You know what I'm saying? Like twerking and whatnot, and he was smacking her butt and all that.
Why that shit never happened to me when I was 12?
And they're like, "This is sexual harassment. You know, the sexual misconduct that she should be arrested."
Because he's too young, he can't consent.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, even if you all at the club and know there's a female twerking on you and whatever, even though you might like it, but you could go back and later say that's sexual misconduct or sexual harassment.
So that's where the line needs to come out. So I made a rule last time.
Everybody.
I made a rule last time, and I'm not sure if it's gonna take but here's my declaration. My declaration is that in there's certain contexts in which a man can holler at a woman and holler at a woman, really. That's all as far as I got. Holler at a woman. I don't know about twerking and stuff in the club, but I feel like if a woman would twerk on you in the club setting, then that should be fine.
But a woman can claim sexual harassment.
As far as calling or hollering at a girl, you are able to do that and be of no consequence if you're doing it if you're in the club, outside of the club, in the vicinity of the club, if you're out in the town at night, and you guys are in the atmosphere of the club.
So why do you say in the club though?
Because there's been people who have been sexually assaulted.
Because clubs are.
So what about walking through the parking lot at the store?
No, wait. Why do you say clubs?
I say clubs because clubs are social settings where people go for interactions with the opposite sex.
So me walking by with my dress on and my heels and a dude grabbing on my butt. I'm supposed to
I didn't
okay
say
with
grab.
That.
I didn't say touch.
I
say no. That's not
you
okay.
did say holler.
You don't touch, but you can holler. If he hollered at you, that's fine. Nobody's tripping.
But a woman could feel sexually harassed by being
don't
hollered
follow, don't touch,
and do and following.
I'm with you on that.
Hollering.
Don't holler. Don't follow her. If she's not answering you, don't follow her. Don't harass her. But if you just holler at her initially, try to get her number, talk to her, fine. But don't touch.
What if he hollered at her, she stopped, didn't like what she heard, so kept walking, then the dude followed her?
Don't follow.
Because she showed interest. You know, I'm not saying it's right either way, but I don't know. It's etiquette to it. It depends on depends on the situation. Most of all, depends on how the woman's feeling, because she is the element of the sexual harassment in it. I don't feel like a guy can be sexually harassed by a woman.
That's society.
It is society. Maybe it's my jaded society view. But like
that
13-year-old boy who got raped by a 22-year-old type cute teacher. Is that really? Like, I wish that shit would have happened to me when I was 13, you know? Right? That's every 13-year-old boy's dream.
Yeah, but that's assuming
to be sexually harassed by his teacher.
You were attracted to this woman.
Right.
What if it was like some overweight, like, whoever?
But wouldn't that make her a pedophile?
Miss Mulder.
Oh, of course, it would make her a pedophile, yeah.
But you still want that, though.
If I was 13? Yes. Look, I mean, come on.
Because
I
for
know some
guys-
teachers back in the day. I'd have been like, "Damn, Miss Cam, I'd have."
Hey,
I
you
remember
know
some
you didn't
teachers
call her
back in the
name
day.
out.
That's right. I didn't mean to put her name out there.
Yeah.
I remember Miss
Yo,
Cam
Miss Cam
coming
almost
looking
sang
right
though, yo.
sometimes,
You
though. Yeah, she's black joint, man. She was looking right sometimes, man. But anyway, I mean, your hormones are flowing.
He right though.
You're a teenager. Some teachers, man, you be like, oh, I wish that joint would have happened to me, man. But it's a totally different context if Juice gets his butt grabbed in public versus Ace getting touched on One Elite in public. That's totally different. If you went up and tried to claim sexual, if I worked at the club, if I worked at the club and I said if Juice came up and said, "Yo, this lady just touched my butt," I'm like, "Nigga, get the fuck out of here!" You know what I'm saying? Like if I was taking you seriously and doing my job,
That's the
come on,
patriarchal
man.
look, though. That's
But if Ace did that, it'd be a totally different reaction.
Well,
Show me where he at.
So
You
here's
know
the
what I mean?
thing.
I'm gonna
Here's
kick
the
this
thing.
motherfucker out.
There
and all
is a
this.
line that's between there's a line between the physicality, right?
Mhm.
Where men are more physical because men generally are stronger than women physically. So they are able to impose their will upon a woman more, and I'm talking generally. I'm not saying in
I
every
can say because
situation.
you have females that are very aggressive and demanding, like
Right,
female
right.
could come up to you.
But
and
see,
That
do
happens,
like
but I'm
that
talking
shit.
generally.
Yeah.
I'm talking generally. Like men are generally stronger than women. So if a man was to come upon a woman and grab her ass,
Mhm.
what's she gonna do? Like she gonna fight him?
Like, if you
Say he
take-
wanted to take it further than that. Say he wanted to try to drag her away or whatever.
Mhm.
If he has the size and the ability to do that, he could do that, and that needs to be. So part of it is
power structure.
part of it is creating a structure in which these are things that need to be signaled against. We need to create a situation where you have to be able to set signals. So, hey, this guy can't do this. Other people see this happening. Something needs to be done. So if a woman reporting a guy grabbing her ass, right, that's setting a standard. But like, hey, guys, don't touch these women that in unwelcome ways, because there will eventually be that one situation where a guy is trying to drag her off.
So question. So you mentioned about your teacher and you being 13, whatever. So it's okay if the female that, gropes you or grabs you or maybe hugs you and kisses your ear type thing, if she's fine, it's okay. But what if it's an ugly female or a female you're not interested in?
Sometimes it's the motion in the ocean, baby. Okay, she ain't gotta be all that. She can be a butter. I'll take a butter. You know what I'm saying? They look good butter face. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But that's how men think, and maybe that's my patriarchal view.
That's how D thinks. I'm not down with smashing chicks. I'm not.
Come on.
I'm not talking
about
about
smashing.
smashing chicks that
I'm not talking about
into.
smashing, but I'm saying when you were 13, 14, 15, I don't care if it's an ugly teacher up in there,
Nah.
dog, and you were in the full swing of your hormones. If a teacher came up and grabbed your balls, you was not going to think about going to the office and saying, "Yo, this teacher sexually
You
harassed
have
me."
some people that would.
No,
like that's
no.
why you
Come
have
on,
children.
man.
that-
I don't see it.
Think
I don't
about that.
see
Think
it.
about that one chick in your class that you just didn't like, who you just didn't want to talk to. Like
See, now you talking about the okay, I'm not going to be
Same
mean.
thing.
I'm
Same
not
thing.
saying she got to be ugly, okay? But the burden of sexual harassment falls on the man, not from the man. The sexual harassment accusation comes typically from the woman, and call that society or whatever you want. But that's how it is. Maybe it goes
Biology.
maybe it has something to do with what you were saying, the man being stronger than the woman, right? If a woman grabs you inappropriately, you feel like you get the fuck off me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can push that woman off. Not every woman can do that to the man. So I don't know. I just wouldn't take it seriously. Like if Juice came up and was like, I don't know why I keep using Juice butt getting grabbed as an example. Okay, fine. Let me switch it up. If somebody came up and grabbed Jay's butt, I'm like, Jay, seriously, she grabbed your butt. What you do?
Jeez.
I'm like, what'd you do, Jay? You know what I'm saying? Like if Jay was like, yo, this old lady grabbed my butt.
What'd you do?
I'm like, what'd you do? I punched her in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So
damn,
when-
Jay, I'd be more mad at Jay for punching her in the mouth than mad at her for touching his butt. And we all know we would, dude. We would.
So I wonder if
Damn, you won't punch
There
an
are a
old
lot
woman in
of
the mouth,
men.
would you?
Jay might, though. It depends on how hard she grabbed that
You
shit.
grab that?
Bitch.
oh my gosh. So I wonder
Bitches
if the reason that I wonder if the reason that men feel like it's okay to do what they want when it comes to females because they at some point have been sexually harassed or had some kind of sexual misconduct towards them, but they didn't feel it was okay to talk about
Perpetuating the
it.
abuse.
Right. So
And let's
they
clarify.
go out and do that.
Let's clarify. I think what Ace means when she says men is other men, because none of us at this table would
I'm
do
just
any
saying
crazy,
men, right, I'm
funny
just
shit
saying,
like that. You know what I
you
mean?
know.
Because
it's a general
I could never
term.
see
It's a general-
myself.
Right.
I could never see myself sexually
Mankind.
harassing a woman, like even following a girl up the street and into a store,
So
or
have you ever touched a woman that you did not know?
no, not on purpose.
Even
If
at
we
the
was in the
club?
club, if we was in the club, Okay, look, this is the trick in the club. When you walking through the crowd,
Are we all record here?
you always poke out a little bit. You know what I mean? When you
Are we
slide,
all
you
record?
know what I'm talking about. And you know what I'm talking about. It's just a strategy in the club. But I mean, the club is like got thousands of people packed into a room. It's
That's the
hard.
thing. The club is a weird thing.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because part of the means of getting a dance in the club is to kind of slide up on that jump.
Whereas Ace, you could
Place
probably.
your hands, pull in.
I remember me and Juice
and
used to
roll.
run. Me
Like
and-
it's a technique that you have to follow step by step. And if you don't, I mean, look, part of that technique could be considered outside of the club sexual harassment.
I remember me and Juice used to
you're on
run
the dance
plays in
floor-
that joint, dog. I used to be like, yo, Juice, you go around, hit a friend, I'm gonna get this one over here, dog.
Like,
Me and Juice used to come up to a circle of girls like we didn't know each other. Like I'd be like, yo, I'm gonna get on a friend right here.
you know what I'm saying? It's like game
Yeah,
plays and
because you
shit.
can't grab one and then her other 4 friends is looking at you. You got to distract the friends.
Yeah, it kind of has to be like a simultaneous move.
It's a play, right? Blue 42, blue 42.
Yeah.
Make them feel awkward, especially you. Yeah.
Yeah, because you go
And see,
feel
this is
awkward.
why we have the problem that we have.
Oh.
Because you know most guys, are gonna pick the best
right.
looking girl in the group. You know what I mean? So the best girl get to dance. You're like, oh no, you know what I mean? So you got to distract one of the uglier friends.
Wingman.
What a wingman, y'all. So
Yeah.
Wingman, man.
y'all. Take him
You
over
know
the
that
team.
shit. But I don't know. Like it's totally different dealing in the context of a man than a woman, man. Especially as far as sexual allegations go. You got to commend this guy at least for stepping up
can
and
be abused,
stepping
though.
down. You don't want to deal with that scrutiny as long as this investigation is going to take. It's like just step down, relinquish your job, step
Talking
out
about
of the
Frankie.
public eye. Yeah, about Spurlock. Step out of the public eye and let the
So then
investigation
what
run its
happens
course.
after all that? And then it comes out that the guy or female, whoever was accused of sexually raping somebody or misconduct, and then they're innocent. Like people lie. Like even with
That's
Russell
what's-
Simmons.
I
Scared
sue the
me.
pants off her.
The Russell Simmons thing is
That
throwing
scares
me.
the shit out of me.
Right.
Doesn't matter even if you like. There's been cases where there will be like alleged rape cases where the guy will go to jail, guy or whoever will go to jail for like years, and then later on, the case is dropped. It's like, oh yeah, I lied or this and that. That's still
There was
years.
that one Rolling Stone article where
That's still years.
where
They
that
can't
girl
get that back.
accused this guy in the front of like raping her, and turns out later that Rolling Stone didn't do enough investigation, but later it came out that her stories didn't match. She kept changing her story, and in the end, that it turns out she confessed like he'd never raped me. And after all of it went on for like a year, and this guy's just been persecuted for his entire year.
That's
So
my biggest fear.
Yeah, like and that's the thing, because that all that does is lend credence to the naysayers saying, oh, she deserved it, oh, she's too loose, oh, blah blah blah, like just blaming the women, victim blaming. All that does is lend credence to the victim blaming. What people need to be, and that's the thing that gets me about this whole boom. And I said it last time. I feel like it's a bubble, man. I feel like this
witch
sexualization bubble, this witch hunt, man. That
Scarlet Letter.
that it's gonna pop at one point and it's gonna be something really bad. But I did hear recently that there was a New York Times anyway, long story short, they tried to frame a politician. It was about the Roy Moore case. Right, so the Roy Moore case, there was this institution who was set up to do hit pieces that hired a woman to say that she was sexually assaulted by Roy Moore. This is their right doing this. They hired a woman saying that she was sexually assaulted by Roy Moore. So the New York Times, I think it was New York Times or Wall Street Journal, anyway, they did the investigations, and it turns out that none of her stories were matched well enough or made as much sense. They did the investigations before they reported it, and ultimately they were like, "We don't believe your story. We're not gonna print this." And it came out that she had made it up ultimately because she ended up working for this right wing smear organization. I don't remember the name of the organization, but they're same people that did the Planned Parenthood thing with the baby parts.
Margaret Singer and all that shit.
No, the baby parts, the one that came out recently, where they made a documentary and tried to they cut
Like
the
they were
documentary.
they were harvesting
harvesting
baby
baby
organs
parts, that whole
from,
thing.
dead fetuses.
So she was in that same organization. So they did that research, but that's what I'm saying. Like they need to do the investigation, because if you have like certain standards you need to abide by in order to confirm if a story is accurate, they need to do that investigation to find out and do the research. See if there's corroborating evidence. My issue with the Democratic Party and kicking Al Franken out is because they didn't do that. Yes, there was a picture of him doing the boob hands to the one sleeping woman, but that's sexual. That would be A, that's a bad joke. B, if anything, that could be misconduct, but that's not like any of the rape allegations that came out later, or any of the real sexual harassment allegations that came out later. They need to do the investigations on all of those things.
I feel like it's always in the hands of the woman, though. The woman is in control of the sexual interaction. I always use 1 or 2 words per cast that I use over and over. I don't know, I mean, when you edit this cast use, count how many times I say sexual interaction. But she's always in control because she has what the man is chasing. So if she wants to claim harassment, she can claim it. She wants to come out later and say, no, he didn't really sexually harass me. She can do that, you know.
This story with Spurlock, it gets me, man.
And
How would he know?
Society is highly patriarchal.
How
but
could it come to that?
With the whole equality movement that's been going on for, 100 years now, since women gained the right to vote and be looked at as every other citizen, I mean, it gets harder and harder, man, because anybody can be claimed of sexually harassing, a woman at any time. I mean, they were hanging black people for looking at white women wrong back in the day. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's that whenever you deal with a woman,
the woman came
different.
out later and said, "Yeah, she made that up." He never said anything to her. Like, he died over that. I was killed and drugged behind.
What kind of an asshole do you have to be to accuse somebody of sexual advances, a rape or whatever, get the guy's life ruined, and then come back and be like, nah, he didn't really do that. You know,
it's a crazy thing.
That is fucking crazy, though.
It happens, though. It happens.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, I'm curious. Like, is there a point where you're like, so I feel like as part of being a man growing up in society, and if you want to have sex with a girl, part of it comes down to coercing that girl, and it's not like maybe coercing isn't the word, but persuading.
But it is kind of the right word, right? Persuading, coercing.
Persuading, it's not the
seducing. It's
seducing,
all kind of the same thing.
It all comes down to that. And sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it takes some persistence.
Or sometimes you got to play the friend role for a while, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it comes down to...
It's all part of your game, huh?
Well, she got to trust you. Hey, it's psychological.
Playing hard to get and stuff?
Yeah, it's psychological.
Yeah, so, but that's part of it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but
it sounds like in this situation with Morgan Spurlock, like he was playing the game and then maybe he misstepped. Like we weren't there, right? And we don't know her side of the story yet.
And we don't know any details.
Right, we don't know anything else from so far. So maybe it'll come out. She'll express more why or what happened. Maybe if she comes out at all. But like I look at it and I worry. Like, so could I have ever been accused of rape in those situations? I'm like, I hope not.
It's up to the woman, really. But I would say for the fellas, any fellas listening to this, just make sure you do not find yourself in a situation where you can be accused of rape.
And before you put it in, get the signed contract.
You
gotta
like
make
Dave
sure
Chappelle said, you gotta fill
everybody is involved.
Sign this release.
I need you to sign this
initial
release.
Here,
this
initial
pussy
here.
release.
Say, girl, I'm about to tear that up. You know that? Right after you sign.
Slide
that shit over with a clipboard. Need your initial here.
Here. Sign and date. The fingerprint right here.
Yeah, what if guys really started doing that? Like, that would be so
That's
crazy.
what I'm worried about, man.
Like that's what it's come down to.
It might
You gotta
be
protect
what
yourself.
it comes down to.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, be temperamental, have patience, and be fucking sane. And you'll never find yourself in that situation, right? Like, you'll never find yourself in a situation where you can be accused of rape because
what if
you're taking a sane approach to the situation.
That's too drunk. That's had too many drinks. And like...
No, I might have been drinking with her. Well...
That's enough.
How do you say no to that then? You know what I mean?
But what if you're drunk though?
Because she's drunk as
if
shit.
She can't consent. You can't
well,
consent.
Can you wait for her to wake up?
So that means either one of them can say it was sexual.
Is she like passed out?
We all know how men are now. If she's drunk as hell, I'm like,
no.
I'm like, Samantha, can you come here, please? Well, Samantha got to help me out with this.
She has a
Samantha,
breathalyzer on her finger.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha, breathalyzer really quick for me.
I'm like, you know what? I didn't get that. Stick your finger in the mouth again, Samantha. You know.
Roll it around.
Roll your finger around. That's some crazy shit, man.
We're like, sure.
I don't know, man. It all comes down
do?
to the situation, man. Like if she's drunk and you're not drunk, if you're drunk and she's not drunk, it's like it all goes down to what the woman wants.
It depends, man. Like, so about the drinking thing. She can't be passed out drunk, man.
Of course not passed out, like unresponsive
Like,
type shit.
Tricky shit. You don't want to be in that
I
situation.
went over a couple girls' house who were unresponsive. I remember one time I went over this girl's house and she was fucked up off E, right? She's fucked up, unresponsive like a motherfucker, right? So I'm sitting there, just back in my, tree smoking days and whatnot. I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, this bitch. I was like, yo, I'm trying to wake her up. She's sitting there. I finished watching the movie, smoked a J, and rolled out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The next day, she was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." She was like, "Wow, I had some money sitting on the side. I'm surprised you didn't take." I didn't look. I didn't look for it. Like I came in, you fell the fuck out. I fucking left. You know what I mean?
So I remember one time, somebody at this table was so drunk they went missing and whatnot. And
Face, come on now. Why
So,
you gotta
like-
start that shit?
wonder
I
who that
definitely
was.
went missing, dog.
so
You know what's crazy is I just stepped out the club and I thought I was gonna throw up. You know what I mean? I thought I was gonna puke. I didn't want to puke in the crowd.
It was
You know what I
gone
mean?
for days.
So then, what if you
I was
ran
definitely
into
missing
a
for hours.
female, ran into a female, and she took advantage of you, had sex with her?
She was like,
Do
"Come
you
here, let me
think-
touch you." She was like, "Let me touch you and make sure you're alright." I'm like, "Okay." Yeah. I was responsive enough for that. No, I was definitely
What was
unresponsive.
a 400-pound?
The first thing I
Like,
remember is
dirty,
Ace. The first thing I remember is Ace
dusty
hugging me.
neck.
Ace was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "What the fuck is what?"
He's alive.
Yeah, no, but I was just on the side of the.
We have been
Okay, we don't
looking
have
for
to
you
get
for
back.
hours.
It wasn't hours. It was like 2.
That's hours.
Plural.
Matter of fact, that's the first.
Semantics.
Look, that was Juice's birthday. That was the first night. That was the first night that I ever met Claudine over here. You know what I mean? That was the first night. And y'all didn't even see that. They left before I disappeared. I was so hurt. I don't know what she put in that drink. I think I had a roofie, dog. I think somebody slipped a roofie in my
Dude, you
shit.
got taking advantage of that.
I'm telling you, dog. I'm surprised I didn't wake up with my legs hurting. My butt would have been hurting. I was like, yo, my butt hurt. I can't sit down. Shit.
He woke up with his pants around his leg.
Yeah.
Where am I? Yeah.
Oh,
That would have been
man.
sexual.
Yeah, that would have been sexual harassment.
Yeah.
I could have claimed sexual harassment off that.
But would have been a rape.
First thing I remember is Ace waking me up talking about, "Oh my god, hey, oh my god." Oh, you can just leave those right now. I mean,
taking advantage of.
well, I say you can just leave those right now. But yeah, man, that was crazy. But I mean, it
Wait,
depends.
I think you were
It's up
making
to
a
the
point
guy.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I forgot what it was.
I got knocked off my train of thought as well. But
No.
I mean,
Good times.
That was some scary shit though. And the bullshit is I was just on the side of the building we were in. I don't know where y'all looked at, but I was just on the side of that joint, like, because I stepped out and went around the side.
Everywhere, like.
I went around the side and I was like, I'm about to throw up, and then I just sat down. And
Oh, just on the side,
Pass
behind
out,
the
you know what I
dumpster.
I wasn't behind the dumpster. I was,
He was like right on the side about losing eyes. Like,
I was just on the side. I was hurt, but
so just imagine a female being like that and getting
True.
taken advantage of.
I can see the danger in it because I woke up was like, oh shit, really? I fucking passed out on the side. Like
It could have been robbed,
anything
right?
could have happened. Yeah, yeah. So definitely imagine a female.
Yeah, man.
All
That's just a dangerous, it's a tricky thing, man.
right, so I want to slide this in real quick before we wrap up this cast. I'm not sure how long I've been going for.
43.
I guess I could tie this in too. I just seen Ace sent this to the group. Panthers owner Jerry Richardson reached settlement on sexual racial allegations per report. So, and again, another example of a well-to-do man allegedly making advances, sexual harassing another female, especially a man in a position of power.
He's an old man too.
As this guy could have been, or even as that guy Spurlock could have been. I mean, maybe he felt like it was okay to do what he did.
Called chick hot pants.
Yeah, call a chick hot pants and didn't see the problem in it. Okay, I wanted to bring up before we get out of here.
Might I add that hot pants is a cheesy term?
It is pretty.
It's an
cheesy.
outdated term.
But
Yeah. He's not that much older than us.
hot pants.
I think he's a lot older than us.
Really?
More than Spurlock?
Still pathetic.
Mm-hmm. Hot pants. I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
plus
Go
where were
ahead.
they at? Were they out in, like L.A. and shit? Who knows how the culture is out there? Okay, Donald Trump, a name that we're pretty familiar here with on the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast over the last year or so,
I don't know who that is.
has been named the most powerful person in sports.
Oh,
This is an article I saw on ESPN by Darren Rovell. Donald Trump, according to the Sports Business Journal, has been named the most influential person in sports of 2017. Like I said, according to the Sports Business Journal, of their list of the 50 most influential sports figures of 2017. Trump was named for his angry, loud, and visceral rhetoric that has divided the sports industry and caused massive reaction, response, and reflection. And I definitely thought this was relevant as far as the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast goes, because he was named more influential than one said Colin Kaepernick, who we've mentioned many times on this podcast. Colin Kaepernick came in at number 50 on their list, and this is a pretty prestigious list. Like I said, it's a sports business journal where they take the business of sports and the business of sports. They take the business of sports and combine it with the business of sports. Like we always say, sports is sports, basketball is basketball, football is football. But there's a business that's behind the scenes. You know, a lot of us focus on the product we see on the field or on the court, but there's a business behind the scenes. There's a public relations committee on each of these teams. These sports teams are set up just like any other business. They have presidents, they have CEOs, they have COOs.
They have doctors.
Yeah, I mean, they got everything. So he was named more influential than Colin Kaepernick.
It's funny
That was
because
crazy.
here
And
it says
LeBron James came in at number 23. LeBron James can get up and speak and mobilize the whole black community today if he wanted to.
But is it because
Try.
Donald Trump, with the whole, what's that thing called? The Star-Spangled Banner.
Here's the thing.
That's
It says
all that.
Trump's year in sports most prominently featured his battle, mostly via Twitter, with NFL players and their protests during the national anthem, and the league for its failure, in his opinion, to address kneeling players by mandating standing during the Star-Spangled Banner. He also reviewed the Golden State Warriors' invitation to come to the White House, blah, blah, blah. But it's mostly over the whole Star-Spangled Banner and standing during the Star-Spangled Banner.
That's definitely the main thing.
Like,
and
that's
that's
some
probably what got him the
foolishness.
number one vote. But that
For
the
buffoonery.
refusal of Steph Curry and his withdrawing of the invitation of the Golden State Warriors to the White House, that's a big deal, because usually in the four major sports leagues of the U.S., hockey, basketball, football, and baseball, the championship team traditionally goes and meets the president. That's what you do. The NFL, the champion will go they'll meet the president of the United States. The championship basketball team, hockey team, they'll go have photographs and meet the president of the United States, and that's a tradition that goes back, like, what's that stupid turkey tradition they do for Thanksgiving for the president?
Pardoning the turkey?
Yeah, pardon it. That's kind of along those lines. It's just a tradition that you do. That's a big deal for Steph Curry, who's one of the biggest stars in the NBA, to refuse to go to the president to meet the White House.
Would you go?
To meet the president? I would definitely meet Donald Trump.
I wouldn't.
I definitely would.
If I
And I'm just not saying that I'm on his side, but he's Donald Trump. He's still. I would have liked to meet Donald Trump before he was president. If I could meet him and shake his hand, say, "Hey, how you doing?" Shit like that.
I think I would.
I would have probably
Why not?
before, but now that he is, nah.
Juice wouldn't reach his hand out. So Donald Trump reached his hand out to shake your hand. You would just stand
Smack
there.
his hand out my way.
I think you would shake it just out of reaction, like just
Grab
out of
his stomach.
That's
Arm lock his ass.
fucked
He's
up.
about to go to jail.
You just gonna give him an Indian burn? You can't get a president an Indian burn on his
Spit on
arm,
it.
dog. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, you can't do that, dude.
You don't say to oh.
But it's
He
crazy,
fast.
man. And yes, LeBron James could mobilize the entire black community right now if he wanted to. LeBron James is one of the most recognizable names in sports, not only in basketball, but just
he's
sports
opening a
worldwide. He's opening. I mean, he's doing so much shit for Ohio. He's opening the school. This guy's probably going to own a basketball team at the end of his career. I mean, if LeBron James jumped up and said, "Yo, we are we are revolting. We are not going to support this country anymore," he'd have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of black people on his side just off the words that he types on Twitter.
Depends on what his side is. I don't think black people just agree
Okay,
with
maybe
him
not
if
that
he
far.
does.
Maybe not that radically far.
I
but
hope not.
If he said, "All right,
I'm not convinced.
we're not going to go to Starbucks anymore," he'd have hundreds of thousands of people not going to Starbucks. Based off his words.
Why?
Well, because he's LeBron James. He's
No, why would he say not go to Starbucks anymore?
well, I'm just using that as an example.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm not about to.
Okay, but yeah, Trump was definitely voted the most influential person in sports because of his tirade on Twitter, especially for the NFL players. But I still don't think he's bigger than Colin Kaepernick, though, man. I mean, if you ask me,
He
I would have
started
put.
the whole protest in the
The whole
first
movement.
place.
He started the whole
The
thing.
reason they were kneeling, it was because of Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick got on the cover of
Trump
GQ
gets
magazine
first place.
off of that.
He got first place on this list because he tweeted in response to somebody else's actions.
hmm And the
Really,
reason
guys?
those actions were being undertaken by
Really?
different players was because of their response to Colin Kaepernick.
Exactly.
So that's influence, when you start getting other players to do these things that you're doing in name of a movement or a stand, taking a stand for something, and then the president reacting to that, that's influence, And I don't know. I just thought I thought this list was kind of wrong, man. It's like,
it used to be huge.
how does Donald Trump matter more in sports? And this was by a sports-based magazine that published this article.
I wonder what their affiliations are. Like, I wonder what their opinions are on other topics.
Yeah.
That's ESPN, so they definitely probably have ties to Time Warner, and it's all business, man.
Yeah,
this
I
whole
feel like
thing
it's
is ran by business.
It's skewed.
It's all
Yeah,
skewed.
I feel like this is probably a skewed list.
Yeah, but
I mean, look, we already broke down a million reasons why it doesn't make sense.
when you have a sports-based platform like this magazine,
We're just intelligent
and
ideas.
you have stars like Steph Curry or LeBron James or Colin Kaepernick going up, who are in the business of sports, going up against Donald Trump, and Donald Trump gets outvoted by them as the most influential person in sports in 2017. That's crazy. Like, why don't we stick to the topic at hand, which is sports? Like Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick was number 50.
50.
No, that's still a position of note.
That's
because
no.
Out of all sports, you're
If
50th.
Trump is 1 and Kaepernick is 50, you're making a political
there's
statement.
thousands of sports figures in the country.
You're making a political statement. If Kaepernick is 50 and Trump is 1 in a 50-person list.
LeBron James is more influential than Kaepernick.
What did he do this year?
Well, he's LeBron James. He doesn't have to do anything. All he has to do is be LeBron. I mean, he's
So,
to
in
that
effect,
level now where he's like
nothing.
Michael Jordan.
So
He's
you
a
mean
recognizable household name like Michael Jordan.
So you mean
People know
nothing.
who LeBron James is.
Michael Jordan should have been higher than.
Right.
Well, Michael Jordan's not
Just
relevant
off of-
in sports
just
anymore.
off
He
of-
doesn't play.
Well, you're saying just off of his name strength. Michael Jordan, he sold a bunch of new.
So
he's not
Jordans
relevant.
Come out?
And
Did
this
new
is the-
Jordans come out? We're talking about.
This is the vote for the year of 2017.
Mhm.
So you have to be active in sports. For
What about
2017.
So
Michael
no-
Jordan
no-
retired 20 years ago.
No Jays. Well, fucking Donald Trump's not even in sports.
Right.
He's number 1.
That's what I'm saying. The whole craziness of this list. You know what I mean? Like, he's voted higher than people who participate in their sports leagues. It's wild, man. He was even voted higher than Roger Goodell. And if you don't know Roger Goodell, he's the NFL commissioner for the NFL. He was involved in landmark cases like the Ray Rice case, which gained national attention because Ray Rice was caught punching his girlfriend and letting her fall out of an elevator.
Funny.
I know, but that's
It wasn't funny, but the video made it funny.
But
But that was just a bad look.
That was bad timing.
And he suspended Ray Rice. I think, did he suspend him? At first, he didn't suspend him. They had the allegations that he was.
She just tripped.
She accused him of hitting her and everything like that. And I think they fined him. But once the video came out, they rescinded the fine and then suspended him, which
stuck with him too.
he came under flack for because the commissioner came under flack for because they said, well, if you're gonna suspend him, you should have done that from the beginning before the video came. I shouldn't have took the video for you to suspend him. So I would
Because they
even
had
say
already seen the video. They
Mhm.
just didn't.
I would even say Roger Goodell is more influential than Donald Trump. I mean, Roger Goodell, man, this guy makes a decision in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge news in the sports world, man. I mean, it's big news. I mean, he was involved in Ezekiel Elliott, who was. It's funny how all these guys are accused of sexual misconduct before something, and then they get in trouble in the NFL. Then Roger Goodell has to step in. But
Speaking of Ezekiel Elliott, it's his 6-game suspension.
I think today is his last day. So next week he'll be back for the Cowboys. He's a second-year running back for the Cowboys. But he was accused of sexually harassing this girl in college. That was 2 years ago. So then the girl came and said that she sexually harassed him. So they wanted to suspend him. Roger Goodell wanted to suspend him, and it was this big thing because, the investigation hasn't run its course.
Yeah,
Should we
let
suspend
the
him?
investigation run the course.
So that's influence in sports. Why the hell is Donald Trump at the top of this list, man? Like, if Donald Trump should be maybe just one of the most
I'd
influential
argue
people,
they're making
period.
a political statement. They're
Influential people
they're
in
naming
sports.
their alliances. That's
Yeah, I think so too. Probably.
That's a political move right there.
I thought it was just funny because we talked about Donald Trump so many damn times over the last year. We brought up Colin Kaepernick. And apparently, according to this list in ESPN, Donald Trump is more influential than Colin Kaepernick.
Or anybody else in the sports world.
But I think once you get into the office of President of the United States, you're influential, just period. Right? Yeah, just because that's a high office.
No matter how ridiculous you are.
Mm-hmm. He's ridiculous, but he's not any more ridiculous than Hillary. Hillary's way ridiculous. I mean, we've had battles on this. He's not, man. He's not. Man. Maybe Donald Trump. See, the thing is, we knew Donald Trump was an asshole coming in. We knew what type of person Donald Trump was because he was on TV. He was already famous anyway. You know, he was in Little Rascals. I was watching Little Rascals with my son. He was the fucking dad of the little rich kid who was trying to steal Spanky's girl, man. His dad. He was sitting in the stands at the end of the movie and shit.
He was in
Look at this motherfucker.
He was in Home Alone.
Was he?
Yeah. Remember? I think it was his number two when he was lost in New York.
I wouldn't.
And he ran and the kid
he
ran into
somebody on the outside.
He ran into
Trump
ran
Tower?
into Trump Tower, and Donald Trump came out, and he was in that joke
He
for a
was also
minute.
in WWF.
Yeah, he was. He was already famous, so maybe the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. You know what? They said Donald Trump was coming under fire recently because he used the penthouse of Trump Towers or something in New York for a party, for a holiday office party. That's what it was, for the holidays. I think it was like last week. I heard on WTOP, and that's
Damn, I didn't get my
that's
invite.
going against
You didn't invite the Intelligent Idea Office.
something where
Would
you
you
have
go?
to
Been a
get.
whack party.
Would you go?
Hell yeah, I go to the party.
It's like something where you have
I
to
wanna
get
talk to
permission
Trump.
from
You
the
wouldn't
hotel
shake his hand,
owners
but
to
you go.
host a party there or something. I don't know. It was funny. I'm like, of course, a rich billionaire is going to use his penthouse to host parties, right? You can't blame Donald Trump for that.
It's his penthouse.
They're trying to pick at every little fucking thing Donald Trump is going to do for the next 4 years until he falls out of the public limelight. Everything he does that he's used to in his life is going to be scrutinized and picked the fuck apart. He didn't think he was doing anything wrong. He thought, oh shit, I'm just going to host an office party at my penthouse. What? You know what I mean? Like, come to find out, that's against the fucking rules, Donald. You know what I mean?
Turns out you have lawyers. You should probably
can't
talk
do
to
that
them about
shit.
some shit.
I don't know.
But it's not just, that's not why everybody hates Trump. This is the first time I heard about that shit.
Well, why don't we talk about
We got a million other reasons why
why
people
don't we
hate
talk
Trump.
about the tweet that was talking about how great he was? Or justifying it. Why don't you bring it up?
It'd be a nice way to round off the cast, end off the cast. Talking about how great Donald Trump is. And I would just want to point out that this tweet is strictly from Juice. So, talking annulling Donald Trump,
sent a
talking about
tweet
how
out.
great Donald Trump is.
So this is a tweet that was sent out by a guy by the name of Juan Pa, or Twitter handle Juan Pa, or Partridge. And it's kind of a long Twitter rant, but he really kind of goes into he sent it right after the presidential election, in which Donald Trump was elected president, and it just went away. I'm just going to read the whole thing because he makes some really great points about why. So the question is, why did so many rural Americans decide to vote for Donald Trump? So he starts here. He says, quoting Juan Pa, I'm a Mexican American from a poor, rural, mostly white town in Oklahoma. Missing from this debate, how poor whites see themselves. If you're wondering how poor exploited white people could vote for a dude with a golden elevator who would fuck them over, here's how. They don't see themselves as poor. They don't base their identity on it. They see themselves as, quote, temporarily embarrassed millionaires. The stigma against poverty is incredibly strong. It is shameful poor to not have the comforts of the middle class. So they pretend that they aren't poor. They are willing to lie to make it seem like they aren't poor. They purchase things to make it seem they are not. In my town, wealth wasn't associated with greed, but with hard work and inherent goodness. You are blessed if you have material wealth. When they see Trump, they don't see an extortionist who is rich because of the very conditions that keep their own communities in poverty. They see someone who has worked hard and was justly rewarded with wealth. Most men especially think they too could be Trump were it not for the unfair obstacles put in their way. White men who don't consider themselves successful enough have so many excuses for their failures. The idea that immigrants are the reason they are poor and not wealthy like Trump is appealing. It takes all the shame and blame away. And here we have a man who they think tells it like it is and is willing to name things, stealing prosperity out of their hands. If these people saw themselves as an exploited class of people, if American culture didn't stigmatize poverty so much, it might be different. But America has so entangled wealth with goodness and poverty with moral decency that they can't build that identity. They won't. Trump is rich, and so according to American criteria, he is wise, fair, moral, deserving, strong, and clever. He, quote unquote, has to be. Capitalism is and the American dream that teach poverty is a temporary state that can be transcended with hard work and cleverness. To fail to transcend poverty and to admit that you are poor is to admit that you are neither hardworking or clever. It's cultural brainwashing. If an exploited class of people don't want to admit they're exploited and they blame themselves for their oppression, what manifests? Xenophobia. Hatred of anyone who is different, queer people of color, people of color. These people are eroding the quote-unquote goodness of America. And if they would just stop ruining America, then the perfect design of America could work again and deliver prosperity. I'm telling you, as someone who has spent his entire life in an environment that if you think cities are a quote-unquote bubble, good God. The reality is, of course, that these people are indeed exploited and they are victims even while they victimize others, victimize us. How could you balance realities and what conclusions you reach to improve the lives of both? Well, I'm not smart enough to have that answer. So, a very poignant Twitter rant by this guy, and he makes a bunch of great points, namely about the lie of what the American dream is and the things which we have based our what we call our American truths off of, and how those too are lies.
Yeah, definitely a very poignant opinion, but I don't know. I mean, according to American criteria, isn't Donald Trump all of those things? Right? To be rich and to be at the level he was before he's president, right? I mean, you would think that.
Smart in order to be a billionaire.
I would think so. He wouldn't have been in that position if he wasn't smart to some extent. I think a lot of times
until we look at what the truth of the matter is, and the fact that he inherited $1 billion.
That's just what I was about to say, but that's wealth.
That's the truth.
True wealth is
so it's perception versus truth, right?
And they were talking about the obstacles that are in front of them, or they could be Donald Trump. I mean, yes, those are true obstacles, economic obstacles that are in front of you.
But they blame it on xenophobia. They blame it on people who are not within the norms. They don't blame it on the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bubble he's talking about. They're not blaming the Republican Party who just put in place tax increases, who will essentially increase taxes on the middle class while decreasing on the 1% and the corporations. They're not mad at those guys. They're mad at the person who works 40 plus hours a week and getting minimum wage and saying, oh, he's lazy. That's who they're mad at. That's what the bubble is talking about. It's a bubble of an illusion.
It's definitely an illusion. But I mean, because that's most of America. The majority of America is working class.
I think we talked about this in the last cast. Where we talked about how even like new like racial slurs, like redneck and stuff, were not really founded on racism. They're founded on classism. Where like rich white people would call poor white people rednecks because they were working in the fields or this and that. So if you look at just that stigma right there, the poor class, you can see why people voted for Donald Trump. Because they don't see themselves as being poor. They see themselves as, temporary,
temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Which is a hilarious point, because they hold this idea in their head that, oh, if it weren't for the immigrants, if it weren't for people of color, if it weren't for these lazy people of color, right? If it wasn't for all of these poor people around me, I too would have everything I need in order to become a millionaire. My ideas are that great. I'm that.
Well, not only to become a millionaire, a lot of times it's just to maintain a stable life and be able to support your family.
Survive.
Yeah,
American dream.
Because they're also blaming immigrants and people of color, but they're not blaming automation, like what they call it when you use robots now instead of people power, or even on the Industrial Revolution, or
damn it, Samantha,
even just capitalism, economics. I mean, we're talking about the merger between Disney and Fox. That's the way economics is run. Yeah. Capitalism, companies swallow each other up. So now that workforce that worked for Disney and the workforce that worked for Fox are now going to become one. Some people are going to lose their jobs. You know,
Even if you look
and that's
at
just the
how
way things go.
industry changes,
Outsourcing jobs, sending jobs to China and Mexico where you can pay people less money. That's why you think a lot of them immigrants are coming here. You know what I mean? They're trying to find more work. They want to find money, man. They want to get money. I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird, man. But they'll blame it on race. They'll blame it on race. And
while at
try
the
to say
same
that that's the
time,
problem.
contrarily, more or less worshiping somebody like Donald Trump. More or less worshiping the richest. And the
Thank
most
you for
powerful.
reminding
But
me.
think about how great that statement is. Make America great again. If you are a struggling middle class person who's trying to struggle to feed like a family of 3 or 4,
Make America great again
Like-
when you made your fortune while America wasn't great. That should have been a red flag right there, not to trust them, you know what I mean? You want to make America great again. You already made your fortune, so America wasn't great while things must be good for you. Why the fuck do you want to make America great, you know? You don't want to make America great. That's how you
maybe
bring
trying to
it.
help out
I hate.
people.
I do not want to concede the fact that Trump made a lot of money.
Well, he
Like
did make
didn't.
moves.
He lost more money than he made.
Okay, well, you're talking about
He
a
went
scale of
bankrupt
billions
6
of dollars.
times.
You're talking about...
He was born with billions of dollars.
Dude,
Bankrupt 6 times.
we're
Born
talking
with
about-
billions of dollars.
This is on a
Bankrupt
scale
6 times.
of real estate and financing and development.
Liquidation.
This is like...
assets.
When we say Donald Trump went broke, it's not truly broke. Okay, he might just not have enough money to
didn't say
support
broke,
the
I said
assets that he
bankrupt.
has. Well,
He
bankrupt
failed
is
6 times.
the connotation of bankrupt is broke. He's broke. He can't pay for his shit. You know what I
failed
mean? So
6
he's
times.
bankrupt. Okay, but I think the main reason that people voted for Trump is because people can see through the bullshit
He
nowadays,
didn't want a
man.
woman. That's all it was.
I don't think that's just it. I think she was saying the same thing that her
Elizabeth
husband had
Warren, I would
said.
vote for her.
I think she said the same thing.
I think she would have been a stronger candidate.
Who?
Elizabeth Warren.
If she would actually
If she would have ran,
pull her head out of her ass, yeah, and actually run, right?
I think she would have been a huge, great candidate.
I don't know what her problem is, but she's not. She doesn't step up like Sanders does. But if she did, I guarantee people will rally behind her. Because what Trump did, and I'm going on a rant again, but what Trump did was all he did was he appealed to the people who are hurting. He was a populist.
It's a great cause.
He was a populist, and that's what Bernie Sanders was doing. While on the other side, Hillary said everything is fine as is. Let's keep it going. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, we don't want to keep this going. I lost my job. My job just got sent overseas. Like whatever. Like people didn't like
he
that.
He did appeal by saying American jobs. I'm gonna create more jobs. Like,
And
course.
even though he's
That's
lying in every aspect of his promises,
Oh, he's
I
definitely
think they
lying.
all do though.
But isn't that kind of an unwritten rule of politics, though? You lie in campaigns.
I mean, just look at Hillary.
People, everybody knows that
She
people
flopped.
lie.
she flip-flopped.
so many times.
I mean, all
But I don't
candidates
know
lie.
though. I don't know if that's the norm though.
That's an unwritten rule. I think in the back of our minds, we all know that candidates
I
lie.
think that they have promises they can't keep up with. But there's a difference between lying and not being able to keep a promise that you made, right?
All
So-
politicians lie. So
But there's a difference between lying and not being able to live up to the standard that you set for yourself. So Barack Obama, he made some moves. It's not like he didn't try anything. But he didn't succeed in everything he said he was going to do. That's different from Trump, who's saying, I'm going to create more jobs in America, and at the same time allow legislation to be written that will allow companies to export their jobs out with no consequences. Like, that would be a lie versus not being able to live up to your promises. Like, you have to look at it. It's not like, oh, they're all lying. Why bother? Like, some people who are running are actually genuine in their intentions.
They're genuine, but you join the system to be a part of it. You don't
The
join the
system is
system to
running. You
change
can't
it.
help it. But you have to try. Like, it's fucking turning a shit, man.
I think
It's
you
turning
end
a
up
shit.
being
You don't do
absorbed
it. You don't
into
bust a
it.
U-turn.
I think you end up being absorbed into it more so than trying to bring anything new to it. You know?
I agree.
And
Or you get swallowed by the
I think
system.
the reason that people voted for Trump is just the fact that they wanted something fucking different, man. People were tired of hearing the same shit over and over. They
That's
know
the same
people
reason
lie.
they voted for Obama.
They
That's the
joke
same
about that
reason-
shit in movies all the time. Politicians lie and shit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They do. Like
Like, a huge number of people who voted for Obama voted for Trump for the same populist reason that Obama
It's
spouted.
different. It was different.
He was
Just
different.
different.
It's an outlier.
And the same populist reason Trump is spouting. He was different. He inspired hope. Hillary Clinton was not about that shit.
because when you start telling me about our problems about North Korea and all that, man, the average person's like, nah, bro, bring that shit back home, man. I'm worried about keeping my job here. I'm worried about how much gas prices are here. I'm worried about how much food is here. I don't give a fuck about North Korea, So like Jay was saying, with Donald Trump's promise to bring a lot of that money back to the U.S. as far as jobs You know, the reason they outsource jobs to other countries is so they don't have to pay taxes. Because you're not, when your headquarters is overseas, you're not adherent to the tax code of the U.S. So they'll hoard that money and keep it in banks offshore. You know, while it's still, you know, GE has a lot of money, but they don't bring it back home and pay taxes and help with government programs and shit like that. And he was promised to bring a lot of that shit back, or at least incentivizing companies to bring the money back home and put it in American banks and the American economy. But you can't do all of that shit. He lied.
But if you look at it from that little perspective of like, man, I'm poor. He may be the next greatest thing. He actually, what if he actually fulfilled all his things? It's pretty promising. I can see why people would vote for him.
If I was rich, the first thing I would do.
If they didn't look at his track record, I could see that too.
But
But for anybody,
he
who?
wasn't political.
Who?
Donald Trump.
No, he has a track record. Trump University is definitely a track record. If you're
I
looking at a
thought you
person's
meant
character,
political. I thought you meant political.
no, I mean his character. Like if you look at this person's character, like
But a lot of people don't though. They see that.
how many wives, shuns people, always has to be in the public limelight. Trump University was a scam.
But
Like,
Trump is a
and a
famous
proven
name.
scam in which he had to
it's
settle.
a name, though. Like for example, Hillary.
You knew the name Trump. Like, you
Like-
know that name.
Right. Like Hillary.
Yeah.
Though, like you might not
Do some
know
research,
her,
though.
but you know
Like-
Clinton though. You know Clinton. You don't know
You know
Hillary.
Clinton.
Right.
Mhm.
The thing is, I think she got a lot more press because of her last name as well.
Of course. That's why she didn't divorce Bill when
Right.
he got a dick sucked.
So again, like it's all about the name. And Trump though, like even if it's bad publicity, even if it's bad press, like it's still press. And like like internationally, he's known. He's a superstar because of the name.
Who knows, man? Donald Trump. Well, any other topic that we want to talk about besides Donald Trump before we wrap this shit up?
Hillary ain't shit. All right,
Donald ain't shit.
Donald ain't
I'm surprised
shit.
nobody like assassinated him yet. Like I'm surprised he's.
You know what? I was actually
Imagine how hard it is to assassinate the president of the United States nowadays, though.
I mean,
You're
you
only
kill
going to get
50 people in Las
assassinated if
Vegas
somebody on
easy,
the
but
inside
you can't
wants
hit the
it.
president.
Sorry, man. You can't just
But
walk
also,
up.
we talked about this. It's if you assassinate him, the system is still in place. He's just a puppet.
Well, he's just a puppet.
You guys
The root of the
know
problem-
nobody's president.
The real controllers of this country control the
You think he
banking
really controls
industry.
that shit? Hell no.
It's not.
When you control finances, you control the people, man. You just do. When you control these. The reason we always talk about corporations and government is because the model of a corporation is the model of a government. I mean, you run it the same way. That's why
No,
they'll
you
cut
don't.
workers' jobs in business, but they'll cut education in government. You trim the fat that you don't need. You're not going to cut a bonus for a CEO. You're going to cut somebody's fucking. You're going to cut 5,000 jobs. That's just the way
Here's
this
the
shit
thing,
is
though.
ran.
Like a government
That
isn't
sucks.
like
That's
our
true.
government isn't run like corporations. Corporations are run top down. You have a CEO, you have a CFO, you have these. It's like it's pretty much straight
Same
down
thing in
tier.
government.
No,
But it
no, we
starts
have
at the top
completely
with
different. We have a
business.
judicial system. We have a.
Yes,
We have the whole. We have
but all those
everything
things
broken
are
out in
adherent
different
to the monetary
departments.
supply. You control the
If
monetary
you're talking
supply.
about the
you
money,
control the
yeah,
government.
I'm with you on that one. But that we have
Those
laws that were
systems are
put in
supposed to be
place
in
that
place to
allow
offset
legal.
each other.
We have laws that were put in place that allow legal bribery to happen in the form of campaign
Lobbying and
donations,
stuff?
lobbying.
That's some
That stuff is actually fairly
some
recent
bullshit.
in our government's history. So those things need to be
But who do you think a lot of the
repealed.
lobbyists are? The bankers.
That's
the
what I'm talking about. But I'm saying
corporations.
in the span of time, you're talking about as if this has always been the case in our government. Like this is. I'm not saying
think
it's
so.
always been great or pristine, but it used to be illegal to be able to give people money
I mean, when
to,
the government
to
goes
vote
broke
a certain way.
and they're
It
looking
used to
for
be
a
illegal.
loan, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to a bank. You know what I mean? You're going to get your money from the bank. The bank says no. You're fucking broke.
So
You
now they
gotta-
have lobbyists and go straight to the corporations. Now they have lobbyists and go straight to the corporations.
I don't know. I'm just saying, for me personally, I don't trust.
And also, a bank doesn't give loans based on certain criteria, especially if you're a political campaign. They don't just be like, hey, vote for this way and we'll give you that loan. That's not really how that works. But
Somebody
political
said-
campaigns will lobby you for based on those criteria. And if you don't for a certain way, you won't get funded next go round.
Somebody said, I forget who I was listening to. It might have been in a Joe Rogan joint. Said the basic principle of democracy ends when you start having secrets in government. Like when they do things without telling you, that's not a democracy
Like
anymore.
voting at midnight.
Yeah, shit
That's
like
some
that,
shit.
or passing bills when most of Congress is out on break or something like that.
Yeah,
That's secrecy. You know what I
madness.
mean? There's no democracy in that, and that's what this government does on the regular. They do that shit on the regular, and people just
Or we can
just
have
get
government
absorbed back into
shutdowns.
life. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy too.
How the fuck you have a government shutdown? Are they due for one coming up soon? Are they due for a government shutdown?
Supposedly.
How the fuck does the government
Trying to
shut
fight
down?
that jump, but
And
Trump
who's
was
the
like,
government going to go
we
to?
should
They're
do
going
it.
to go to the banks. It's like, hey, man, look, we
I
shut down.
for real talk, man. If a politician was to do have
How
to
the
sit
fuck
in,
does the
or-
government
you
shut
should
down?
get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I didn't show up for my work,
So
I
a
get
government
fired.
shutdown is basically you can't afford to pay your federal employees. That's what the shutdown is. You can't pay the workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Because they need funding to keep the government open. If they don't have the funding to keep it open, to pay people to be in those positions to keep it open, then they close it.
I know one thing since we started this cast, in closing, like, ever since this cast, I can't look at a movie without scanning the crowd to see who's black and whatnot. I can't, like, hear somebody talking on TV about, this government program or thing without, like, kind of shading my eyes. I'm like, what the fuck are you really trying to do? You know what I mean? Like, you trying to sneak up on us and you plotting on me or what? You know what I'm saying? So I just want to thank you guys, Jay and Juice and Ace, for opening my eyes and making me more paranoid to what's going on around me. You know what I mean?
Hey,
thank you guys very
welcome,
much.
man.
Yes, yeah.
You're woke
Making me
now.
more fucking paranoid.
Hashtag woke.
Stay woke.
Yeah.
Stay woke.
Yeah, third eye open like a mother.
Yo. But real talk, guys, like this might be our last podcast for the year.
They can't.
2018 is coming up, so end of the year, man. Like this is the last.
Any closing remarks want to wrap it up for 2018, 2017?
Stay woke.
Happy New Year's. Stay woke. Episode 30 Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast.
Question everything.
Yeah, man. And if net neutrality kicks in, man, we'll see
That's
y'all
it.
on the other side.
And also, while we got her here, let's get on Ace's case because Ace, this better not be your last podcast for like the next year and a half.
I know, man. Hey,
I
so
mean,
don't
dang,
be flogging,
Ace.
yo. You
Yeah,
gotta
don't
come
flog,
through, yo.
John.
You know,
All right?
it was football season. Y'all know how I feel. Like,
I dig it, but you are co-host
I don't
on this
know.
cast, okay?
I don't know football season.
There's
I know
4
you're not
hosts
into
on
the
this thing.
sports.
Look, there's 4 hosts
Try
on
it.
this thing, and you one of them, all right? You got to come back,
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
better in 2018.
okay? Definitely.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Ace.
I just said
All
I'm
right, you
gonna do better.
recorded it. You
That's
recorded
committed.
that shit.
Yep.
You got that shit
That's on
recorded,
air. Documented at
Yep.
4:50 p.m. Ace gonna do better.
Oh, snap. Go do better.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap us up. Once
All right,
again,
guys.
Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, episode 30 in the books.
Yes, sir.
Peoples, happy 2017, man. Damn, end of the year.
See y'all next year.
Was it 2 weeks left in the year? Shit, yeah, it is.
About 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas is in what, 8 days?
Yep.
Ooh.
And New
Guys,
Year's
brush
is
it up.
in...
I know, man. Making some
What
more
y'all doing
gifts.
for New Year's?
Drinking.
I don't even know. Probably just chilling, man. I don't know. I haven't went out on New Year's in like years, man.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah,
You know
like
you're
going
getting
out.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
really
like
be sleep when the ball drops.
sometimes it's easier to stay at home.
You see it once, you see it all.
I know, right? You said it last year.
I
so
remember
you
one
put it
time-
outside.
I told somebody to wake me up when the ball dropped. They woke me up. It was like 12:10. I was like, "What the fuck?" Man? Like, I mean, you're supposed to wake me
You're
up.
like, hey, the ball dropped.
What the hell? You're supposed to wake me up at 11:55. I don't know, man. But yeah, once again, yo, happy New Year's, happy Merry Christmas to everybody. My co-host sitting here at the table. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's.
Happy New
Happy
Year's.
holidays.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, guess we catch y'all on the flip side, man. Stay woke.
Stay woke.
Peace.
And we out this motherfucker.
Are we supposed to do outros? We gotta do better outros than that. You want to start this over? All right, guys. Yeah, we about to be out. Once again, I'm your host D.
This is Juice.
Jay.
A to the C to the E.
Damn it, Ace. Yeah, that shit ain't right. The Rock is in the building. Oh.
Peace.
Oh.